Good evening and welcome to our regular City Council meeting of April 18th, 2024. Tonight, we're going to see government in action. We're going to have people speaking, and at the end of the day, some people are going to be happy and some people are going to be less happy. And sometimes that's how conflicting decisions go, but we look forward to hearing, and we look forward to you. We look forward to deliberating, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So with that, Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Harkey.
Present.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Encinas.
Present.
Councilmember Ellis.
Present.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Present.
Councilmember Poston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. Our invocation will be led by Reverend Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan from Valley Unitarian Universalist, and our pledge led by Councilmember Orlando.
God of many names, Spirit of life and love, and all that gathers with us today. Be with these leaders and community members today. Help them to listen more deeply, ask more questions, and hold this community and its needs in the center of their decisions. Help them to consider far into the future and to learn from the past. Help them to learn and grow as leaders and as humans shaping this community for other humans. Bless this community with compassion, integrity, and true leadership. For all of this, we pray and give thanks for your guidance and love. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Council Member. Council, on Monday, we looked at 24 items on our consent agenda, had opportunity to review, and staff had also made a point of reviewing them with us in advance. Does any council member want to move any consent item to action for discussion and separate vote?
I think we already have one already.
One, I understand. I'm asking anything on the consent.
No, unless you're ready for a motion, Mayor.
Mayor.
If not, a motion would be appropriate.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
Move to approve the consent agenda of April 18th, 2024, regular meeting items 1 through 24.
I second that, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Council, any recusals or reasons to not vote on any of these? Seeing not, let's vote.
Our motion carries unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Council. Next on our agenda is item number 25. And here's how we're going to do this tonight. I will invite staff to come up and give a briefing. Council will engage and ask questions and pick the brains of our fine staff. We'll then invite the zoning attorney or presenters for QT to come up. After that, I have a stack of comment cards, and we will invite each person to come up. You have up to 3 minutes, and please don't make me remind you that your 3 minutes are over. So if you could respect the days there, the grid light will be green for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It will turn yellow, and then it'll turn red. So if you can wrap up your comments during the yellow portion. We also have a number of items that have just been brought in as comment cards, and these will be part of the record, and we'll make sure that they get in the record, but they're pretty similar and almost identical to all of the comments that people want to talk about, so I'm not going to read them separately. So with that,
All right,
City of Chandler.
thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ben Sedesedes. I'm a city planner here with the City of Chandler Planning Division. Feel like I'm having deja vu. So, all right, this is a presentation. Can you guys see that, by the way? I apologize. The presentation. Yeah. Okay. This is a presentation on PLH 23-0044, Quick Trip Convenience Store and Gas Station. This is a project site location. It is the Star. It is on the proposed on the northwest corner of Ray Road and Dobson Road. The request before you is an amendment to the PAD zoning for commercial uses to permit a fuel service station with convenience store. One thing I want to clarify is that by right, you're able to do a convenience store in commercial zone properties. The reason why this is coming before you is because the fuel component that does require a rezoning to allow for the fuel component of the proposed business. And the applicant is also requesting a preliminary development plan for site layout and building architecture for a fuel station with convenience store.
Mayor,
Councilmember Stewart.
real quick, why is the rezoning required for fuel? Is that something that's an ordinance that was put into place by previous councils?
Correct. So it is required either you have to go through a use permit process to go and get the fuel service station, or you can rezone the property.
Thank you.
All right, a little bit about the proposal. The subject site is about 2.51 net acres. The proposed convenience store would be about 5,312 square feet, and the proposed fuel canopy would be about 7,287 square feet. They are requesting a total of 8 fuel pumps. Um, the code requires a total of 30 parking spaces, and they are requesting 50. Just the elevation for City Council and the Mayor to see. This would be the front elevation of the proposed Quick Trip. All right, so the neighborhood outreach. The applicant mailed out the notice to all property owners within 600 feet and to HOAs and registered neighborhood organizations within a quarter mile of the subject site. A neighborhood meeting was held on October 3rd, 2023, with 25 neighbors in attendance. Meeting signs were posted on the site and on social media via Nextdoor. As of writing this memo, staff is aware of support and opposition to the request. All right, so this case did come before City Council last month in March. The applicant did request to continue the case to April, so that way they had a little bit more time to host another neighborhood meeting. A second neighborhood meeting was held on April 3rd with 20 individuals in attendance. That does not include city staff or the applicants or their team. A meeting sign was posted on site and on social media via Nextdoor. The applicant mailed out notices to all property owners within 600 feet and to HOAs and registered neighborhood organizations within a quarter mile. Some concerns from the second neighborhood meeting were the same that were brought up during the first meeting, which were traffic, safety, crime, and potential transients. In conclusion, there are 7 individuals who spoke in opposition and 2 individuals who spoke in support of the request. All right, so I'm sure City Council and Mayor have seen there have been quite a few emails and letters sent to the city. So the concerns were potential transients, increase in crime and traffic. So in opposition, we have 39 confirmed Chandler homes, 2 businesses, 8 with no address or they're located from the county. In total, 49 total emails and letters were provided to staff in opposition to the request. In support, we have 16 confirmed Chandler homes, 14 businesses, 10 with no address or they're located within the county, and 65 total emails and letters in support of the request. All right, so we did receive a few petitions for the request. We did receive 3 petitions provided opposing the request. The first one was an online petition through change.org. 44 stated Chandler homes were in opposition to the request. 52 non-Chandler homes and 1 no city address with no address was provided. and 97 total signatures in opposition through that petition. We also did receive a written petition in opposition to the request, with 214 confirmed Chandler homes in opposition to the request, 78 non-Chandler homes, 109 no addresses provided, for a total of 401 total signatures for that petition in opposition. And then lastly, we did receive a petition in opposition on April 17th with 33 Chandler homes in opposition to the request. In total, we have 291 total Chandler homes opposed to the request. All right, and late last evening and earlier this morning, we did receive one petition provided supporting the request. It was a written petition with 483 confirmed Chandler homes in support of the request, 920 non-Chandler homes in support, 443 no addresses provided, and so there was a total of 2,257 signatures on this petition. City staff didn't have the time to go through every single one, so there are still 811 not finished confirming if that property is within the city or county, wherever it may be. In conclusion, 483 confirmed Chandler homes are in support of the request. All right.
Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
I don't want to dice this too much, but in all fairness, were we able to dice out who is the most impacted, who support and opposed to it, as opposed to someone just living in Chandler that likes QTs?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. For this one, if the question is with regard to the proximity to the property, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, for that one, we didn't go into that much detail
Okay.
of how close the properties are
Right.
in opposition or support to the
I know you
request.
got a lot of things to do, but I appreciate you at least
Yeah,
looking at that. And we have, it kind of conforms to what we were getting in some of the emails. And folks would just say, I live in the area and I support it, or I live in the area and I don't support it. So we got a good feel for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation, it was motion to approve with 4 in favor and 1 opposed. And the concerns from the Planning and Zoning Commissioner were increase in traffic concerns. And with 2 Planning and Zoning Commissioners absent, which were absent. During Planning and Zoning Commission, P&Z did ask for some enhancements, which are shown on the plans that are provided in front of you today, which include pedestrian path off Dobson Road, which was provided, and increase the tree size as well. All right, staff recommendation. It is consistent with the general plan. The proposal does meet all zoning code standards, meets setbacks, lot coverage, parking, etc. And Planning and Zoning Commission does recommend approval. And this concludes planning staff's presentation.
So let me start with a couple questions, and maybe these will get bounced to the QT side. Is someone going to talk about traffic and what we're doing in the with the traffic improvements, and independent of this action, what that will look like and its goal? So I'd like to know about that. Do we have a staff person, or was that covered by the by QT?
So through the mayor,
Through the mayor.
we do have a staff member present, our traffic engineer, that can answer any questions regarding the CIP project. Maybe it's best if maybe the applicant does do their presentation. They do touch a lot on traffic and a lot of the concerns that the residents had.
Okay, so maybe I'll come back, or council will, after we listen to them. Secondly, there's been a lot of comment about gas stations and crime. So a couple of things. Is there, and city manager, I know you and I talked about this, but does QT stand out as being more inclined to criminal activity, for example, than a Circle K, a Chevron, or anything else? Is there something about them? Do we have data that would support that? And apart from that, you know, what data do we have, I guess, on gas stations to start with, whether there's 1 or 2 or whatever around? Can you answer that?
Mayor, that's probably a question that is best answered by the applicant. They
Okay.
do have some information on how they deal with transients, any concerns, crime that might occur on the property.
You're doing an excellent job of deflecting my questions to somebody else. Well played, sir.
Thank you.
Council, any questions from your part before we invite the applicant up? We can go back if
Yeah,
necessary, but they might have also looked. Councilmember Ellis.
You said PNC is recommending the project. How much did it pass PNC? How many for? How many against?
Yeah, let me go back to that.
4-1.
40.
4 to 1. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional
Mayor,
questions? Councilmember
if you want,
Stewart.
I'd love to hear from Chief Deanna if there's a
Or
difference in the,
Chapman.
ask him later, or I'm sorry, is Brian here? Chief
Yes.
Chapman?
Oh, he's delegating
I'll
well
take
too.
both. Just some feedback on transients and crime at different brands of gas stations in the Chandler market.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. So just in preparation for this meeting, the police department reviewed the 4 quick trip locations within our city, and we analyzed the data, the calls for service at those locations from March 5th of 2023 to March 5th of 2024. The 4 locations in Chandler for quick trip we have are Arizona and Warner, Arizona Avenue and Germain, McQueen and Chandler Boulevard, and then Queen Creek and Gilbert Road. So when we were analyzing this data, we separated the calls for service into criminal and non-criminal because the concern here was about criminal activity at these locations. And so when I speak to criminal offenses, we're looking at things such as theft, trespassing, disorderly conduct, or a warrant arrest, something where there was a criminal offense and someone was arrested or charged. When we looked at non-criminal events, we're looking something as simple as like a vehicle lockout, maybe a traffic accident that occurred there, public information, or potentially suspicious activity, but it didn't result in anything criminal related. So as we reviewed this information, we looked at location-based calls, meaning that Quick Trip is the location that the offense or the calls for service occurred, but it wasn't necessarily maybe a crime that occurred there. So it could be something as simple as an accident was reported and the individuals pulled off into the Quick Trip parking lot, and that would generate a call for service at Quick Trip. So when we specifically looked at, let's see if my slide is up here. Can I get some help with that?
This one up here.
Okay, so the map that you have in front of you, we pulled 3 specific locations. We pulled the Quick Trip at Arizona and Warner, and then the Circle K at Knox and Alma School, and then the Chevron located at Ray and Dobson. So you have all 3 of the major convenience stores within our city. The number that you see associated next to Quick Trip, Circle K, and Chevron, that is the criminal calls for service that occurred during that year's time period that I pulled. So you'll see that all 3 of those locations had relatively the same amount or similar amount of criminal calls for service. What this doesn't show is that Quick Trip did have an increased amount of non-criminal calls for service. They were higher than the other 2 locations. But again, like I mentioned before, those could be for a variety of reasons that were non-criminal related.
And Chief, why, I mean, just for sake of argument, why these, I saw one of each, but why these 3? Was it just out of randomness or?
No, so Mayor, I specifically chose this location because Ray and Dobson is the area that this location is looking to be, that Quick Trip is looking to build upon. So these are 3 in the relatively close convenience store locations within that area that is relatively the same crime.
Okay, and could staff please put that back up again? Could we see that again?
It's
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Any additional questions for Chief Deanna?
Yeah.
Councilmember Orlando.
So I understand crime and call for service. What was the call for services other than crime for these three areas?
So the breakdown, it could be accidents.
No, what was, do you have numbers?
Yes, I do have.
That's what I'm asking.
So for the total calls for service at the Arizona Avenue and Warner, it was 128 total. So
And that-
39 of those were criminal, 89 of those were non-criminal.
This is at the QT?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
And then let's see, sorry, I have to look at all my notes here. At the Chevron at Dobson and Ray, there were a total of 55 calls for service. 37 of those were criminal and 18 of those were non-criminal.
Mhm.
And then the Circle K at Alma School and Knox, 95 total calls for service, 38 criminal and 57 non-criminal.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question, Chief.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. So I think what neighbors are concerned about is like radiant crime, like spilling into the neighborhoods, people, there being more traffic and then that moving into the neighborhood, somebody going back to drink beer or just hanging out in the neighborhood because they stopped somewhere and they're, do we have any data on what's happened around these gas stations or these convenience stores in those areas?
Mayor,
Like, is there a
Councilmember-
heat map for that? Like, is there more crime near a convenience store?
So through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, I don't have any specific heat map related information for calls, extended calls for service outside of the quick trip. And I would not be able to speak accurately to that right now.
Any additional questions for Chief?
Yeah, Chief.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chief, I wanted to know, in terms of how, what is you're out there in the community, you're monitoring various businesses like gas stations as well. What do you normally see in terms of how people navigate through the community or how they approach or attend or go get gas? What is the normal behaviors of a driver who's looking for gas? Can you share that or what you normally see in the community? I know it's kind of out there, but just kind of want to lay it out there.
So Mayor, Vice Mayor Harris, so what I can tell you is that convenience stores, whether in the city of Chandler or any city, are extremely popular. They're, as we drive throughout our community, we need fuel, or there's a need for the convenience store, the convenience factor, whether there's food or drink inside. So they generate a lot of business. And so throughout our community, you're going to see an increased traffic or volume at all of the convenience stores throughout our city, because there's a essential need there.
So I guess, and more specifically, do you like gas stations or QTs? Are these like destination? Do you see that traffickers are more like, is this like a destination spot? Like I'm traveling to this spot for a destination. Do you see it more encompassing just the community or just the area that's, are they more servicing the area that they're in, or is it a destination spot that I gotta go there?
Mayor, this
City
might be,
Manager?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, this might be a better question for our traffic engineering folks. I think you're talking more about driver behavior than the criminal aspect. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have staff here that can address that as well.
Okay, I can reserve it for staff,
All right.
for other staff. Thank you, Chief.
Councilmember Poston?
Thanks, Chief. Do you have any information on maybe the unhoused population? I know that was a bit of a concern too, that this might attract people living there, or I don't know, panhandling, whatever. Did you pull any information on that?
Through the
Is
mayor,
Leopold best
Councilmember
to-
Poston, I actually would defer to
All right.
Leah for that information.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Leopold?
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. Through the Mayor, Councilmember Poston, we did take a look at convenience stores and Quick Trip in specifically in the city of Chandler. And to let you know, the database that we use, the Homeless Management Information System, does not pinpoint down to a specific address, but it pinpoints to a specific geographic location. In this case, it was the intersections. So we actually dove back into the specific cases, and we're not able to find any correlation between an increase in homelessness and Quick Trip. As a matter of fact, in the area that we had the highest level of interaction with the navigators, it was really one individual that accounted for the majority of the interactions, and that individual was actually living in an alley behind another business in that intersection. And the additional people there were panhandling in their intersection, but not on the QT side. So we did create a heat map to show you here if that's showing. Yeah. So basically, again, we looked at all 3 locations and the interactions through the years. We have one of the QT locations, the Gouverneur Queen Creek location. There was 0 interaction with navigators over a 2-year time period. And then the highest number of interactions were at the Arizona and Warner. And over 2 years, that was 33. But again, one individual accounted for about 20 of those interactions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can we get it dialed in? It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
Unless that's my eyes.
No, it's okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, good.
Feel better.
Thank you.
That better?
Thank you. Councilmember Poston.
Leah, do you think you could repeat? I apologize. Repeat what you said. I was kind of busy looking
Sure,
at
sure.
this.
Absolutely. The location, so one of the 4 Quick Trip locations in Chandler, one of them had 0 interactions with the navigation team over a 2-year time period. The one that had the most number of interactions was at Arizona and Warner. In over a 2-year time period, there were 33 interactions, but one individual alone accounted for about 20 of those, and that was the individual that was living in the alley at an adjacent, or a business actually across the street from the Quick Trip, but it registered on that intersection.
Thanks, Leah. Does it seem to be an attraction because it's a convenience store, or based on maybe location anyway?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, it would be location anyway, because again, we could not tie anything specifically to the Quick Trip, even looking at the case notes that were associated with the numbers that you see on the heat map. So it tended to be just the general area rather than the specific convenience store.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Now, if I was comparing this heat map with, let's say, for example, one that we have right here on Arizona and Fry, what would you say the numbers will show pretty much?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, because of the way that HMIS data is collected, that it's very hard to pinpoint that also to the convenience center, because actually our address pulls up as the same location as the convenience center on the heat map. So as you know, we have people coming in looking for services because they see housing on the outside of our
Correct.
building.
Mhm.
So the numbers are skewed for that location. And unfortunately, we can't drill it down to that specific business because of that.
Now, Mayor, please, to say that this particular location, it will attract more transient, it will attract more homeless people, knowing the fact that we have 7 navigators in the street doing that work, which personally myself, I have seen those numbers in the corners totally almost disappearing now since we're doing all that work. Will that be a fair statement to say that this will be this particular location, in view of all the other locations that we just looked at that are not showing that, will this particular one be the one where they will actually show up too?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, yes, we have found no data to support a correlation between an increased number of people experiencing homelessness and Quick Trip specifically. The intersection that is under question, we do not have a tremendous number of people in that intersection that are experiencing homelessness. What we do tend to find is a repeat group of panhandlers that will go to Fry's. They're a very well-known group of panhandlers. They are basically on a circuit, not just in Chandler, but around the valley, and are not experiencing homelessness. However, they portray themselves to be experiencing homelessness. That is the majority of the calls that we get for that intersection.
And whether they're across the street at the Chevron or at Fry's, it will register in that corner right now.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, that is correct.
Yeah. And just looking at your map, I think, again, I understand the Arizona corridor where the heat map is more strong, because we also have more services there with Salvation Army, with the city, with Ascend, with others. So people are going to, I mean, it makes sense if you're going to get a call that they might be, but just looking at this map, I'd be hard pressed to say that there's really any specific store or any gas station that becomes a magnet. Would you agree with my assessment, apart from the downtown Arizona Avenue? And certainly it seems to be a cluster in the West Chandler a little bit, but close to the freeway.
Yes, through Mayor Harkey and council, yes, that is absolutely correct. From what we have seen, we cannot tie anything to any specific convenience store as being a higher magnet for people experiencing homelessness than any other location, any other convenience store. And as you pointed out on the west side, we see that spread out amongst some of the hotels that are over there, as well as some of the convenience stores and other businesses in that area. Also, some of the vacant property that's in the industrial area, there are a number of calls for service, again, repeat individuals that are in those areas that have still some vacant lots. And one other piece of data I do want to share is that every time our navigation team interacts with someone who at least will give their name, if they don't give any type of identifying information, it will not necessarily get logged in the HMIS system. But anytime they interact with anyone that they can identify, it gets logged in the system. So again, if somebody comes into our office looking for a bus pass, it's going to get logged into the system.
Okay. Council, any other questions for Leopold? All right. Thank you. Council I mean, I'm also itching to talk to traffic, but I wonder if we should maybe, let's allow the presenter to come, and then we'll follow up whatever they don't cover with their own traffic. So is the presenter here? Yeah. Please state your name and address and make your case.
Thank you, Mayor. For your record, my name is Brian Greathouse with the law firm Birch and Cracchiolo. Our firm has been representing QT for more than 20 years. And with me tonight from QT is Daniel Chambers, who I've been working with on this case with and many other cases in the Valley. We also have Jamie Blakeman, who's going to help augment my presentation tonight. She's the principal of Lokahi Group, who's our traffic engineer on our team. We also have other team members with us tonight as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we appreciate staff's recommendation of approval. We appreciate your Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation of approval, and we accept all stipulations that are in the staff report that's provided from staff to you all. I guess I would need a presentation up here.
Mayor, just a technical question here. Staff is recommending approval, or they're recommending its conformance?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, Planning and Zoning Commission and staff are recommending approval.
You both are officially, okay.
Correct.
Because the original one I saw was you recommending the variance. Okay, that's why I just wanted to double check that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's from March 21st.
I always assume the younger the person that comes to settle technical problems are the most qualified.
You're actually usually wrong, but it's on my side today.
I used to be the one who had to come here and do it for Ed Bull. Hopefully Ed's not watching. All right. At the last city council meeting on March 21st, you all approved our request for a continuance, and we're grateful for that. And so what's happened since March 21st? We held a follow-up neighborhood meeting as staff presented. We sent out 421 invites for that. We had more than 20 attendees. We heard and addressed concerns regarding traffic and safety. It's been a common theme throughout this process. And we also heard support for a new QT store. After that meeting, we were thinking, what's next? What should we do now? And it was in-person community outreach. So we brought Tom Bilstein and his wife, Krista Bilstein, on board, and their team helped us with that neighborhood outreach. We heard an outpouring of support. We have 1,359 letters here, individually signed by people within Chandler boundaries. And 1,359 of those are Chandler residents. 898 are individuals who signed and live in the area but aren't necessarily Chandler residents. And then 14 letters of support from businesses.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stitt.
Thank you. Can I see, are those form letters, I guess?
Yeah.
Can I see one of them and then one from the businesses that signed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You don't want me to bring them all up there? And I can show you a summary map here as well. This is the map of everybody who signed. Do you all have this presentation on your screens? Okay, there it is. Okay, it wasn't on these screens for a minute. So this is a map of the letters that we have signed in support from individuals. As you can see, they're in Chandler. These are support letters we received from businesses at the northeast corner of this same intersection of Ray and Dobson and the southeast corner of Ray and Dobson. So moving on.
Could you go back to that for a second?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you for my part.
You're welcome. So I'd like to take a quick moment to show everybody in the audience today what's proposed on this site with a new QT store. As you can see, we're not changing any of the existing driveway locations. So traffic patterns will remain as they have for the last 20 years. We will be demolishing the vacant Osco building. That's a 17,000 square foot building. We'll be replacing it with a 5,000 square foot QT store and 8 fuel stations. There's expansive landscape buffers around the site along Ray and Dobson. The QT building is more than 350 feet away from the nearest home. As you know, that's more than a football field, and you can see a football field up on the top left hand of the screen. The screen. These next few perspectives are working around the site from the existing driveway on Ray Road, down Ray Road. This is looking at from the intersection. Now we're on Dobson Road, looking at the front of the QT store and completing at the existing driveway on Dobson Road. So staff touched on it a little bit, but I want to take just 2 slides here real quick. This property was zoned in 1998 to PAD, and it allows C2 uses today. There is a vacant Osco building on the site. I can't think of a use that attracts vagrancy more than a vacant building. So infill redevelopment is necessary on the site. And this site will develop with something, and QT is a great infill redevelopment opportunity on this site, and they have strong sustaining power because they're a good, reputable company. So what could be developed on this site? Could be a couple fast food restaurants with drive-throughs, could be some retail opportunities, could be a convenience market like a QT store, not the fuel stations, but a store or a 7-Eleven or a Joe's Mini Market or a number of other uses. And as you heard staff say, what are we requesting here today? We're essentially requesting 8 fuel stations. And to give you a context of how large 8 fuel stations are, that's the same size as the Chevron across the street. They have 8 fuel stations. QT will have 8 fuel stations. So we're going to jump into some common concerns. Traffic and safety. That's what we've been talking about since our first neighborhood meeting on this case. So I'd like to bring up Jamie Blakeman from Lokahi to address some traffic concerns.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jamie Blakeman with Lokahi. Our address is 10555 North 114th Street in Scottsdale. So I am the traffic engineer for this project. I really am excited to go through this. First of all, I know there's a lot of concern about this, and I would like to walk you all through the process of traffic engineering. Hopefully y'all can follow along. First of all, the traffic team for Quick Trip has no traffic concerns. The City of Chandler traffic group has no traffic concerns. So we are the traffic engineers, and I'm gonna let you know that both sides, this is where we land. So, traffic. I'm really hoping you all follow along with this. So a Quick Trip certainly has a lot of folks coming in and out. There's a lot of activity. Anytime I'm there, I'm never alone. There's people heading in and out. So we see that activity and we assume that that represents new traffic. But in reality, and these are all based on data points, national standards, formulas, fitted curves, that's all accepted by my practice. So Quick Trip is going to result in about 4,000 trips in and out of their development. But of those 4,000 trips, I have circled here 3,100, let's just say 3,000 because these are approximate, are pass-by trips. So with gas stations, convenience stores, this is data points, percentages that I am required to use that are published in a manual that says, this is what we know of this type of development. So 75%, 76% of it is pass-by, meaning those vehicles are already on that roadway, not new, on that roadway. So for a minute, let's focus on this 3,000. So what this is saying, and so we even distribute this. So what this is saying, Dobson Road currently has about 12,000 trips. Of those 12,000 trips, that is not increasing, but 1,000 of those already existing 11,800 trips, 1,100 of them are going to turn in to the Quick Trip, go grab their gas, go grab their drink, and keep on going. That's not new, it's staying the same. So that's how you get 1,000, right? So remember, it's 3,000 pass-by trips. So here's where you get your other two. And this is weighted, we weight this based on the road. So I'm gonna flip back again. 11,000, 1,000, so you get that proportion. So now here's where you're at 20,000. So we're saying double, right? 2,000 of that is of that 20,000 trips already is going to be using the 2,000 of it is going to be using the Quick Trip. No new trips. That's the 3,000. So now let's talk about the remaining 1,000. So the 1,000 are new trips. That is being added to Dobson and Ray in that area. So when we're talking about new trips, we're talking about folks who are not already along the roadway, who are now going to destine to that location. So these would be things like employees, folks like employees, deliveries, gas deliveries, chip deliveries. I don't know who delivers the hot dogs, but it would be those folks, right, who isn't driving already, happen to be driving along Ray Road and decides to turn into a Quick Trip. They are starting from a destination elsewhere, en route, GPS to this Quick Trip. They are the new trip. So the 1,000 is the new trip. So as we go through this, as we already talked about this, a convenience store can already go there. Commercial development can go there. Restaurants can go there. Fast food can go there. A pharmacy is already there. So when we look at this, the pharmacy and drugstore, when we talk about new trips, if the Osco was open, their new trips exceeds that 1,000. So do you see that this Osco, if it was open, is actually adding more to Dobson and Ray than the Quick Trip does? I have if you look at the little blue table at the bottom, it's in little numbers, but you'll also see that the pharmacy also has pass-by. So there is a percentage of pass-by that you kind of go past an Osco and you're like, oh shoot, that's right, I need this. You hop in, you hop out. Again, that's not new, but if you look at the pass-by percentages, it's less. And that's what makes the difference, is that a convenience store and a gas station is high percentage of pass-by. It just is. So let me show you another use. Fast food with drive-throughs. Again, the new trips, 1,200. Quick Trip, 1,000. Fast food without drive-through. Chipotle's, Pandas. We all love them. 2,200 new trips. Quick Trip, 1,000. Coffee donut shops. 2,600 new trips. Quick Trip, 1,000. So now when we talk about, can these roadways handle the capacity of this additional 1,000 trips, right? Because the 3,000 is already there. Dobson Road is built to handle 36,000 vehicles a day. With the Quick Trip, it will be at 24,000. And now, mind you, we assigned all 1,000 trips to exit on Dobson Road, which in reality, there's going to be a split of that 1,000. Some will be on Dobson, some will be on Way. So in reality, this 24,000 is more than what it really is going to be in reality. We have overestimated the capacity here. And so another thing I want to talk about in terms of capacity of a road. So in tribute to Quick Trip, if you're looking for a little drink, like a 12-ounce drink, you head into Quick Trip and you grab your 12-ounce cup and you fill that up. Now that's like a roadway. If we're looking to fit few volumes, we're looking for the little cup. We have a smaller roadway with fewer lanes, right? And our ultimate goal is to use that to capacity. You fill your cup up. You're not going to fill part of it up. You're going to fill it up. That's the point of the road. Now, we don't want it overflowing. If it's overflowing, we need a bigger cup. We need more lanes. So that's what a road is designed to do. So now, if you look at the capacity of this roadway, we build it to handle that much traffic because we want that there. We want that level. If not, we should be building smaller. So in reality, by not wanting this to be filled is like saying you're going into Quick Trip, grabbing your 36-ounce cup and filling it to 12 ounces. We're building infrastructure to hold the capacity for a reason. So there is adequate capacity on Dobson Road. Same thing with Ray Road. There is adequate capacity for 54,000 vehicles. With the Quick Trip, all new trips, which is not true, but all new trips, dumping onto Ray Road, we're sitting at 42,000. Brian kind of covered all of this, all access points, all circulation remaining the same. The shared access with tutor time is already in place. We are not changing any of that. And no matter what goes there, the shared access continues to remain. So now let's talk about the capital improvement project. So this is completely independent and not part of Quick Trip. This is happening as a result of the good work that your city folks have done. So there is a capital improvement project that is already funded, already underway, I believe already in different phases of design. What is happening along this roadway, and this is a safety project, it's been identified as safety funds as well as overall improvement of the intersection. There are going to be raised medians on all 4 legs. There are going to be dual left turn lanes on all 4 legs. There is going to be right turn lanes and bike lanes. We can get into protected left turn lanes and things of that if you want to, but I'll save that for later. So that said, when we talk about this intersection, the improvements that you guys are making with your CIP, when we look at crash data, so this is 2021 and 2022 crash data. We didn't have 2023 just yet, but if you look here all the way to the right-hand side, there are a total of 27 crashes in 2021, 36 in 2022. And if you look at the different categories of crashes, angle crashes, head-on crashes, left turn crashes, and side swipes, those 4 categories, the improvements you guys are making at this intersection is targeting the reduction, or if ideally, the elimination of those 4 crash types. Now, unfortunately, at every signal, rear ends actually happen as a result of putting in signals. When you put a signal in, rear ends occur. So those are to be anticipated at a signal. Other, I don't know what other is. But in reality, your project is making this intersection safer.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
City Manager, what's the timeline on that intersection blowout?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, there is federal money, as Ms. Blakeman mentioned, and that is for construction in 2026 is when that funding has been approved. We are currently in the design phase. You have approved a contract for that at a previous meeting.
So it's already in process to improve?
Correct.
What's the
design is
what's the
already underway.
timeline on this project? When would this be, how far out would this take? Are these
Mayor.
lining up? I'm sorry, City Manager, are these lining up if they were to?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, I don't know the exact timeline of the construction of Quick Trip. If you were to approve that, that would be a question for the applicant. But again, our project would not commence construction until the funding was available in 2026.
2026 is when we would turn the
Correct.
lights on.
That is when we are slated
Okay,
because
so
it's on the
there's-
federal schedule.
You're coming in before that if this were to get passed.
QT anticipates opening this store in approximately 18 months, which would be end of 2025.
Okay. Hey, since we took a little break in from your groove there, let me ask a couple questions. One about traffic and 2 about some of the previous stuff. So as I looked at your map, and it looks like the only difficult access to get in here is probably going to be heading east on Ray Road. If I was heading north, I could turn left. If I was heading south, right. If I'm heading west, I can turn right. So what is how would someone get in there if they're heading east on Ray Road?
So Mayor, that's a super great question, and that is actually my next slide.
Okay.
So as we talked about the trip generation and how much of it, 75%, 76% of it is folks already in that direction. It is convenience store because it's convenient. So what we are looking at here is the Quick Trip is really serving those that are headed southbound and those that are headed westbound. The Chevron is there to serve those headed eastbound, those headed northbound. That is the design of it. Now, are people from other directions going in other ways? Sure.
Yeah, and I would also say that if you're heading north, you could turn left and then right, and the same going south into the Chevron. And there's ways. It's just both of these are convenient for 3 out of the 4 for the most part. All right, thank you. I understand that. My other question is when you were talking about the data with other stores, is that based on traffic in this? Is that based on a real store within a mile? How does that work when you're talking about a drugstore or a convenience store or a Circle K with a drive-through? How did you how does Circle K calculate those types of numbers to apply to this particular intersection? I mean, if it was in downtown, someplace else, the numbers could skew if it was more rural. So how did you come to those numbers in comparison to QT?
Sure, Mayor. The way that trips are calculated, we have national formula data points. So there's graphs that all these data points of different, like let's just say the convenience store gas station, that they're plotted from around the United States, and it has to go through a really long process to even be vetted and be allowed to be a data point. And along that data point, there's size and there's trips, and there's best fitted curves and linear equations that go into them to determine formulas that we use. And they are completely what we use in our profession. It is widely accepted. It is the only accepted method that I know that we use.
So let me follow up then. So the data points, is it based upon what you described as trips, which would be a real hard number, I presume, not just capacity, but real traffic numbers are, would it be based upon a square mile of population or, I mean, I'm trying to apply that data to this intersection as much as I can, as opposed to being a national data point. So hone that in for me, please.
So Mayor, the data, it doesn't look at the area, right? It looks at averages, and we have minimums, maximums, so we know where the data points fit between. So at the end of the day, we use best fitted curve for this.
Okay, so are you almost, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm honestly trying to understand this. So I guess I'm asking then are those same data points, would that be used for Casa Grande or Sierra Vista, population centers that are significantly smaller, or would it be a dense downtown Phoenix? Because again, I would say there's some skewed, I would not be able to apply if you, if I could walk across the street in the middle of the day and there's no traffic, then I would challenge the data point. Do you see where I'm coming from? If I was in, in some little town, so bring that back to me again for this area, a town of 287,000. Because again, what you're saying doesn't quite resonate with me. So apply it again to this area.
So I would say, if anything, this falls in line with that. When you're talking about something that's much more rural, that's when we look at some of the minimums or maximums, or we look at outlying data points, because we know that there isn't a population to pull from, right? Or we look at somewhere, let's just say it's in the middle of New York, which I guess you wouldn't have that, but it's a walkable area. We would look to factor that down, if anything, but this is the starting point. So the same formula and methodology and average that I used for the quick trip is also the same that I used for the fast food and all the other calculations. So across the board, it's the same. No reductions were taken or inflations were taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those may not be accurate numbers.
They are approximations, right? It gives us a magnitude of it. Now, these are individuals and humans who choose to turn left and right on a given day. They certainly are your approximations.
Okay, so let me restate in my head what I heard you say. If it was 3/4 of that, it would be 3/4 of that for each of those others. So the comparisons between the two are accurate, but the numbers themselves might be more or less depending. I mean, I've lived in some cities where I've laid down and looked at stars or towns in the middle of the day because there's no traffic, really rural places. And
Sure.
this wouldn't, but even in those, it might be 10 cars that would go in here and 12 cars to a donut place is what you're kind of saying.
Yes.
That's the numbers.
And those are the ones that we would take our calculation. Let's just say, for example, Quick Trip were to be in those type of situations. We would apply factors and reduce it and say it's not in a typical situation. It couldn't generate 4,000 trips because there's not 4,000 people.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. That helps me quite a bit.
Mayor.
Councilmember
Oh,
Orlando.
I think I've seen this one.
Councilmember Encinas.
I'm not sure if the applicant can answer this or maybe our city staff. Speaking of trips and new trips and those numbers with traffic, which is one of my main concerns here, is I wanted to know if you guys have the numbers of comparison of the newest QT here in Chandler on Chandler Boulevard and McQueen to see what the comparison was prior to that being built and the new numbers now with that being built and the traffic, whether the numbers increased, decreased, stayed the same. If you guys can speak to that, or city staff, whichever.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. And your timing is impeccable. Check out this next slide. That is, we could do this presentation 100 times and that would never happen. So great work.
That was not a setup.
So this is a real life case study of Chandler and McQueen, and we presented this at our neighborhood meeting that we held on the 3rd. Even if you don't believe any traffic engineer that analyzes and does this as a profession, this is real data. In 2022, there are traffic counts done before the QT was built, and it was 52,800 vehicles per day at that intersection. After the QT was built, traffic counts were taken in, that was 53,375 vehicles per day, which is an increase of 1% between pre and post QT being developed. And it's a demonstration of there being just a massive amount of pass-by trips that go to QT, not new trips generated on the roadways. Any further questions, council member?
Mayor.
No, no further questions, sir. I wanted to see those numbers. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Orlando.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to look. Were those averages we presented earlier? Or were they high? What was the means when you look at that traffic data? What exactly were you trying to express there?
Mayor, Councilman Orlando, so the numbers that we look at are average weekday volumes
Average.
over the course of a day, the average day.
Okay, I want to double check. You said average, okay? Thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Excuse me. Do we have our own traffic engineer in here?
Yeah.
Can we please?
We'll get back to you, Mr. Greathouse.
Thank you.
you
Appreciate
go.
that. I would like you to take me to that same scenario with what you have done for that corner when it comes to the traffic and also the amount of passing by that will stop visibly at QT versus keep on going on each side of the corner, whether it's going to be the chevron or is it going to be, you know, east, west, north, south?
Yeah, through Mayor and Council Member Alice. So the pass-by number that talks about, it is the number that getting from the national menu.
Okay.
And in general, we don't specify what gas station, whether it's a QT or Chevron.
Okay.
They just specify if it's a gas stations, this is the pass-by they will use. And the number that just show on the screen for the new gas stations, new QT on Chandler and McQueen, those are the accurate number that from our collect data.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, with the Ray and Dobson, I would like to understand what is it that your study showed for having that QT right there across the street from the Chevron? What will be the capacity that we can build on that road to make sure that we allow that traffic, the pass-by traffic, to continue moving very fluently? And then also, if there's going to be any stop by, will that impede the flowing of the traffic in any shape or form?
Okay. Through the mayor and council member Alice, yes, at the Ray and Dobson, it will be the same type of pass-by. And in addition, after the CIP project that complete, there will be a median on Dobson. So it will restrict the left turn in on northbound as well. So there will be less of movement on that leg. So again, go back to the pass-by traffic, it will be the same percentage, whether it's in the new location or the one on Chandler and McQueen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Any additional questions for the traffic? Yes.
Mayor. So on this 575 new trips, significantly, are we tying that to the QT? It's only less than a year or about a year.
Through the mayor, council member Orlando, we don't know. The way that we conduct our traffic count is we put a counter on each of the four legs. We just count the total number, but we don't know whether they go into quick trip or not.
So have we had any major housing construction in that area?
Through the mayor and council member Orlando, we don't.
Have we had any new businesses that opened up in that area?
No, we don't.
There's a great church across the street.
Have we had any new churches across the street?
I guess so. There's one, but I not.
So what I'm hearing you say, we really don't have any major building since the QT went in.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have Andy's custard. That's right.
Oh, Andy Custard. Okay, that would
That through the mayor, council member Orlando, the
That
Andy
just
Custard
opened
is open after
I know.
we collect the data. So.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Yeah. And I would even, I even wonder between 22 and 23, I don't know if we ascribe much of still coming out of COVID in 22, or are we thoroughly, from your opinion, were the roads back to full
22.
capacity and not impacted by more people working at home? Has there been any change that you could ascribe to between these 2 years in traffic that would affect that?
Mayor. So we see the significant decrease in 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
2022 is back to almost pre-pandemic, but not quite there yet.
Okay.
So, but it's almost back to pre-pandemic.
But there's no, so what you're saying, at least for here, it does not seem to be, it's either, it could be QT, it could be Andes, it could be, they're about the same distance almost from the freeways. So it's hard to say, but it's not massive is what you're saying.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Encinas.
One quick question. For the CIP project that's going to be coming in 2026, you guys just had a slide, or I think the applicant had the slide. On Ray Road heading south, that entry right now, that median, is that median going to remain, or is it going to end up being solid? Because there is an entry point there to turn left into the Tudor Time area. So I'm just wondering how much is that going to be used as an access point for people heading east? And does that CIP, just because I didn't see it right now, does that get closed up? Is it remaining there? How does that looking?
Through the mayor and Councilmember Encina, yes, that access will be remain. The CIP project would not touch that access.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I'd say almost similar. There's a left-hand access south of here to QT, that beyond that too. So I guess pretty similar.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
Quick question: will the bus barn or will that be moved, or will that remain?
Through the mayor and Councilmember Stewart, the bus will have remain in the same proximity locations, but there will be a bulk in, so the bus can pull in, and because right now it's on the through lane, but we are still under design. We are one of the 10 scenario. We don't know. We don't have the final design yet, but at least the idea is to have the bus bay in the same proximity location.
With all these traffic experts here, I'm going to get some education. So if a bus pulls in and somebody's trying to pull it around it to go into the QT, is that going to cause some heartache for the two? Like, I'm just thinking in common sense, like it seems like that would create some collision. Would we want to move the bus stop? And is that even feasible?
Through the mayor and council member, Stewart, I believe the bus base in the south of the Bray Road, or is that referring to one that?
I was just looking at Google Maps and I saw the bus stop, and then on one of the earlier slides there was a bus stop as well.
Yeah,
it just seems like that.
So they will require a decel lane into Quick Trip that will be combined with the bus bay, and just like any other combined, there will be a bus if there's a bus there, and car would just go around it.
Okay, so moving the bus stop's not an option.
Yeah,
it's not.
At least right now, it's not on the design. So.
Okay, would it make sense to do that if this were approved?
That could be determined by the team, and
okay,
I guess so.
Thank you.
I would trust traffic folks and not us to.
Yeah, he's right there.
Well, there's a whole company with MAG and.
So MAG decides where the bus stops go?
They work with us. But
Thank you.
Any additional questions for our traffic man? All right. Thank you. Mr. Greathouse.
Thank you, Mayor. Now that we've all got 3 educational credits towards our traffic engineering degrees, would you mind if I moved on to the safety components?
Please do.
Okay. So we've been asked about QT's safety policies and trainings for their employees since our first neighborhood meeting we held with the neighborhood. What I learned by talking with QT is they train their employees with a very finite policy, and it's be friendly with people on the site, be fair with them, and be very firm with them. If the police need to be called, the police get called. They talk a lot with the people that walk into the stores. If you've walked into a store, you probably remember someone saying, welcome in or welcome into QT. And there's employees walking around the store, cleaning things, talking to people. They're out taking the waste baskets when they get filled up, throwing them out. When they're out on the site, they're talking with people. It's all part of the process of watching theft and other type of criminal activities that occur on the site. And it's good customer service. They have very strict policies on alcohol and tobacco sales through training and through implementation. And they coordinate regularly with local police. Oftentimes when I pull into a QT, I see police cars there getting their drinks or whatever they're doing there. They're also designate their stores as a safe place. What that is a place where a youth at risk can go. Let's say someone's struggling with some domestic abuse problems at home. They can leave that home and go walk to QT, and QT will get them in touch with the right organization that can help that youth at risk. On this particular site, there will be 22 cameras installed, and what that will do is provide surveillance across 98% of the site. This site plan follows, and QT's design and their operations follow Chandler Police Department's CEPTED principles, which is crime prevention through environmental design. As you can see, the bullet points on the right-hand side of this slide relate to natural access control, natural surveillance, territorial reinforcement, activity that we were talking about earlier, and maintenance. QT does all of those things. Their cashier is oriented towards the front of the store, so when you walk in, you get greeted. They're actively talking with customers following these principles. Employees are walking around the site, cleaning and doing different things, and they definitely have regularly scheduled maintenance.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I I just remember my question that I had probably for one of the chiefs, but maybe we can ask it. But in terms of go back, if you can go back to the other slide right quick, please. So I know that there's surveillance cameras and I don't know exactly how this works, but I know we do it in Chandler where sometimes we're able to tap into the CCTV feed. And I wanted to know, is that something that our police department will have access to? Is that something that is a part of the coordination with the police department, that we have access to your camera feeds and when there's emergencies and when there are things that's going on, so we can capture real crime, real time crime?
It's a good question. Give me 1 minute. Yeah.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Daniel Chambers. I work for Quick Trip. That is a great question, and that is something that we do and partner with local police departments very regularly. We have a group of people that is their only job. They'll interact and interface with police and provide the camera footages needed for their prosecution or whatever they need it for. So we have a whole group of people that's all they do.
So just one last question. So if there was something that was happening, police is able to have access to the footage. Do they? Is there a real time? I guess my question is that I know that they probably provide that, but is there a real time access, or is that something that we can look at having real time access so we can tap right into your feed versus having to show up and then go through that process? Is that a possibility? Is that something you do now, or is that something you're open to?
That's a great question, and I would have to find the answer. I don't know if we've ever given someone direct access. I know we would give you whatever you guys need. We do have live access to those cameras, but I don't know if we've ever shared that or had a way for you to tap into our system for that. So,
okay.
I think I think as we set up a real look at the possibility of a real-time crime center, that might be an ask, or a possibility in the future. I know we're not there yet. Am I right on that? Yeah. So.
Well, okay. You have my contact information. When you're ready, give me a call and I'll put you in touch with the right people.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mayor and council members, if I may, I'm going to move on to schools because we've been asked about how this will impact the schools in the area. As you all know, because I think you've seen the email from the principal of Seton, We've met with the principal and another high-ranking individual of the Catholic diocese. Daniel answered their questions regarding operations and procedures and policies with their operations. We walked out of there and I asked him in the in the parking lot, what can we tell the mayor and council and other neighbors that we talk with? And I was told we can tell that everybody that they have no further concerns or objections to QT. We've also had like 4 or 5 conversations with tutor time. At the end of the day, what we've offered them is to provide wayfinding signage, add in some no parking signage or tutor time only type parking signage on the tutor time site if necessary. We've offered to add in some speed bumps for them. And as of today, I just saw an email from Ashley at Tutor Time to Daniel saying, yeah, we'd appreciate some speed bumps. And we've offered to provide some additional lighting by the Tutor Time dumpster. This is my last slide.
So before you go there, let me just ask an obvious question. Is tutor time, has this met their concerns? I know you've made, it sounds like some concessions, but you made a statement about Seton. Was tutor time saying you've met our concerns as well?
Daniel had the most recent conversation with them.
I spoke today with Ashley Teague, who is the general manager of the Tutor Time. And when we brought the speed bumps up, she said that would address one of her main concerns. And the other one was adding the light at the dumpster. Those were her 2 big concerns that we would address by doing those. And so we're going to do those at the time of building of the quick trip for them.
Okay, thank you.
So why Quick Trip? We've been talking about negative things. Why Quick Trip? I mean, they're the best in class gas station provider, and they're more than just a gas station. They have a kitchen where they make fresh foods like grilled cheese sandwiches and croissant sandwiches. They have specialty coffees, iced teas, smoothies, and ice cream. This site will employ dozens of workers where no employment is being generated on the site today. And it'll provide a significant amount of sales tax revenue to the city, which, as you all know, is your lifeline to providing city services. And it'll make a good use of kind of a rundown old building that's had a struggle finding a good user. And at the end of the day, it's a low traffic generator compared to other uses that could be developed on the site. With that, we request your approval here tonight in accordance with your staff's recommendation, your planning commission's recommendation, and the 1,300 letters in support from Chandler residents. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to just to let the council members know that I did reach out to the principal of Seton, and he was for it. He sent me a message. He let me know that Seton is for it. Yeah, that just happened just literally right now.
Council, any additional questions to the applicant? All right.
One quick one.
Yes, sir.
So where's tutor time? So tutor time, you said concessions. I didn't see a support letter from them. Is that correct?
I know of no actual support letter or anything in writing stating their support.
Did they offer any sort of reason why they didn't want to do that?
Let's let Mark answer.
She didn't. In talking with her, we don't necessarily go and solicit for her to get a support letter. We just wanted to be a good neighbor with her and find out what their concerns would be and how we can mitigate them to just best. We anticipate having a good long relationship with them, and so we just wanted to go find out what they needed, but we weren't necessarily seeking any support letter. So those are she brought up the items. We had the communication. I copied Ben on all the communication with her, so the 3 of us there just to keep transparency through this whole process with the city and everything. But
okay, thank you,
Mayor, just one.
Council member.
So if this is approved, are you going to put that as a stipulation in there to work with the tutor time?
We're happy to accept a stipulation if that's what's necessary, and I've had a conversation with Kevin Mayo about that
All
as
right,
well.
just so the city attorney knows if there is a motion made here to approve this, we have them on record, they'll put that as a stipulation.
So let me, before I go here, Councilmember, is there anything specific about that or?
No, I just wanted to make sure that the promises made on the slide would be translated into a legal stipulation that if there is a motion made here, let's make sure they're willing to put that in writing and we could go back, our staff go back to make sure that they do satisfy tutor time's concerns. Okay.
Could I maybe take that a little more substance, if I might, just to make sure that there is also, sometimes with other zoning, we just want to make sure that there is someone there that would be responsive immediately to, and I assume there is with the manager, but if there's you mentioned it being a safe place for kids or whatever, but if tutor time or if other neighbors have some issues or complaints, is there the assurance that someone will address, answer, reach back out to them as well? I think that's what you're somewhat asking. Am I correct?
No, I'm not asking that at all.
Okay.
I'm saying this gentleman is up here, and I believe you too, saying they have 4 things they'll work with tutor time
Okay.
and make sure if that does get approved, I'm not saying it will be, we will make sure that the motion maker in the second adds that stipulation that those 4 items will be added to as a stipulation, that you'll do those 4 things for tutor time. So that our staff, if they're not being done, could then work with you to make sure they are done.
Absolutely.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
That's pretty clear, I think.
Yeah.
Friendly, fair, and firm.
Thank you.
Yeah. I apologize. I didn't know you were referring to those specific 4 things. I thought you were talking about in general relationship.
Must be my New Jersey accent. When I said tutor time, I must have pushed over it, right? All right.
Whatever, council member. I just didn't understand that you were referring to those 4 specific things. So, all right. Any additional questions?
One, Mayor, just a quick one. Really quick, just because this is just being presented to us, these letters of support from the businesses. Are these the business owners? Is it management? Is it just an employee? Do you know who signed these letters?
Council member, if you would like me to bring up the individual who obtained the signature, I'm happy to do that. I believe there's a business card of every person stapled to the support letter.
Some of them had them. Yeah. Just guys, if you knew off the top.
There are 3 who didn't have them.
Okay.
Hi, Mayor, Councilmember Encinas. My name is Krista Bilsteed, and I was the one that talked with the businesses. It was either a general manager or owner.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And
Just
then the
wanted that
ones without business
clarification.
cards just don't carry business cards.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Did you say owners?
If the owner was present, some of those are small businesses, so I was able to talk with a lot of the owners. Yeah.
Any additional questions, council, before we invite our citizens to speak? All right. It looks like we've got about 8 comment cards, and from my quick perusal, they're covered by the speakers, and again, these will be written in as part of the public comment and related to this particular case. I'm going to, in the order that these were brought up to me, I'm going to invite people up. If you will state your name and address for the record. And again, you have up to 3 minutes. And again, I'm going to be pretty hard on the when it turns red, please, time to vacate. So finish your comments. I understand that I think with 1 or 2, you've asked for some PowerPoint, and I'm okay with that. But again, it doesn't give you more time, and regardless if you're explaining your PowerPoint, you still got 3 minutes. Council might have questions for you, so just linger after your time is over and until we invite somebody else up. So at this point, let me invite up the first person who brought in a speaker card, David Miller. Again, Mr. Miller, state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes. And could we maybe get that other pile of, yeah, let's get those out of his way.
Mayor, quick question for you. My son's my IT guy, and so he's also a speaker, but
Yeah.
If I could,
I know you asked this last time, and my clarifying was I'll give you each 3 minutes
okay,
rather
well,
than
well, then I'll hand him,
you can
and
tag
we can
team.
finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can the lights be on, please? All right.
First, one quick just comment. I sent this to all of you a while back. It's a letter from Tutor Time. Ashley, we at Tutor Time adamantly do not support this use. So this is in writing from them. I just spoke to the other administrator, general manager at 4 o'clock today, driving in, Rosa Aureano, and they 100% support us and do not support QT on their corner because of the safety for their children. So I've got it in writing and I just spoke to them verbally. So I'd like to start.
You've already 30 seconds in.
Okay, my name is David Miller, and my wife Shelley and my son Bryce have been the owners of the Market Chevron for over 28 years. We are the members of the Anderson Springs Homeowners Association and are very vested in our community and its safety. We're here tonight to object to the rezoning of the northwest corner of Dobson and Ray, which will allow Quick Trip to build a large corporate gas station. In the week leading up to the first neighborhood meeting in October last year, we gathered over 500 signatures that oppose the rezoning from residents that live, work, and have children attending school in the area. As an Anderson Springs HOA member for 28 years, I am here today to speak and to represent hundreds of residents I have spoken to over the past 6 months since the notice to rezone was posted. Your decision today carries profound implications for the safety, well-being, and future of our community, families, and children. I ask you carefully to consider arguments against this development. Schools. Both Tutor Time and Seton Preparatory School share common property lines with Quick Trip's proposed location. Anderson Elementary and Junior High are both just up the street. Children commonly walk and ride their bikes past a proposed Quick Trip location. In addition, parents drop off and pick up their children at the same time gas stations have their greatest amount of traffic, the peak periods. The danger this will bring to families and children is unacceptable. Somebody will get hurt. Traffic. The intersection of Dobson and Ray currently has 64,600 cars per day traveling through it. It's been ranked the third most dangerous intersection in Chandler. There's almost weekly accidents, and just up to this meeting, I've witnessed about 7 since the continuation of the last one. Quick Trip will bring an influx of traffic with cars turning in and out of their driveways, which will put motorists and children in danger. The traffic study done by Quick Trip's consultant presents serious flaws and omissions as highlighted by the comprehensive analysis conducted by AGL Traffic Engineering's Albert Lutzkus. We have provided you with that study since the one Quick Trip had done was so incomplete and only addressed part 1, trip generation, and not parts 2 and 3, trip distribution and traffic impact, that are required in a traffic study. His findings underscore Albert's the grave inadequacy of the letter written by Quick Trip's
Thank you, David.
consultant.
I'll pass on.
Finish.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members.
Uh, Mayor, I'm sorry. I know you're running this meeting and I respect that. We gave the applicant almost an hour, and these gentlemen have a detailed engineering report here. And I'd really like to step through this without having to rapidly answer every other answer you're making. So with due respect, I'd really like to hear this traffic report, if specifically, if it has additional questions that the owner, that we just heard about 30 minutes of her presentation of her traffic report.
And
So,
council member, most of these are also against that are talking, and I believe there will be a fair time for that.
so I want to go through this traffic report and make sure we understand this without, running through this.
Yeah.
Okay. My heart's racing. I was talking so fast. Okay, the traffic letter done by Quick Trip's consultant presents serious flaws and omissions as highlighted by the comprehensive analysis conducted by AGL Traffic Engineering's Albert Lutzkus, who has over 50 years experience throughout Maricopa and Pinal County. We provided you with that study since the one Quick Trip had done was so incomplete and only addressed part 1, trip generation, and not parts 2 and 3, trip distribution and traffic impact, that are required in such study.
His findings underscore the grave inadequacy of the letter written by Quick Trip's consultant. AGL Traffic Engineering did a more comprehensive study, and the results clearly stated that this is not an appropriate location for a high traffic volume generator like Quick Trip.
Mayor, okay, so what is this 2 and 3 class thing you're talking about?
Okay. Right here was his first pass. It says, I went back and looked at their TIS study, couldn't figure out why it was such a small study. Turns out it was only 1/3 complete. There are 3 parts to a TIS. The first part is trip generation, which they did. But the second part is called trip distribution, which allocates the general percent of total trips in a regional orientation of where trips are coming from, to and from, north, south, east, and west of the site. Then this information is used to assign an estimate of peak hours, directional movements in and out of the site driveways. Very important to know. They did not do parts 2 and 3. I am surprised the city staff accepted this report. It will be important to estimate eastbound Ray Road arriving from the west. Some will make a U-turn and others will use the Tudor time at the median break. Many drivers would use this shortcut through Tudor time driveway. How many? What percentage? Quarter, half, 3/4? All questions that aren't answered. Another failure was a failure of the TIS consultant to estimate the traffic impact, including Q links, on the congestion at Ray and Dobson and at the signals on Dobson within a half-mile both directions from Ray and within a half-mile on Dobson both directions. Special traffic capacity software is used to complete the study. The traffic carrying capacity at the signalized intersection. The signal analysis is very standard among all public agencies. Again, surprised the staff didn't require it.
Okay,
I
so
wonder, so.
I saw the floor, I believe. Okay, we'll get with our staff after this to kind of go over that second and third, so.
Okay.
But I do want to dive into that a little bit more.
Okay.
Press on.
Yeah, so Council, I'm trying to keep everyone the same time, and Councilmember Orlando, please help me with doing that. So, do you have any other great things you want? I realize you've got a lot more you could say. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, next, I talked about the traffic study, access to the important thing is going through Tudor Times parking lot where kids and school buses and parents drop off and pick up their kids at the same, yeah.
Are we having a discussion with the
This is scheduled. We can't have a conversation.
correct? And I need to talk to the city manager for a minute.
Hang on, I'm letting him finish this thought, and then we will. So.
Okay, just touching on crime, I sent this. C-stores are the fourth most common location for violent crime. Gas stations take 7th place in a 2020 FBI study on crime statistics. It's right here, can't make it up. Article here done by some Quick Trip customers says this is the busiest gas station on the planet. After spending more than 100 hours in a Quick Trip parking lot, I can honestly say I have never seen a gas station with as much traffic as this one. This is from a consumer, husband and wife. The fact that this isn't going to generate any more traffic than what was previously approved is not true. Quick Trips, I think any of you that have ever pulled by one, they are the busiest gas station next to maybe a Costco where people are in lines for a half hour or so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
That's it. Okay.
Council, do you have any further questions? Vice Mayor.
Yeah. Well, how you doing? Thank you so much for. First of all, I appreciate you being a part of this process. This is important. I want to, and I may not necessarily want to completely address it right now, but I want to compare the study of traffic. I would like staff and quick tip and our team. I want to look at that. I want us to analyze that. I really want to digest that because I'm a pretty intelligent person, but what you share with me and what I can see and with the experts, I really would like to kind of understand a little bit better and compare it, and then making sure that the things that you're sharing in terms specifically more about how the traffic flows and what that looks like. I want to kind of see, you talked about accidents. I really would like to compare the data a little bit more. So is there any way possible that we can get with our traffic team or city manager, or we can get that information and then actually do so I can see it, compare. Because I don't want to dismiss what you just said. I just really want to better understand. Are we answering the question if traffic is an issue? I want to make sure that we're answering all those questions as it pertains to traffic, so I can make a really sound decision. Because I really, what you just shared was a lot, and what they shared was a lot, and what we just shared was a lot, and I'm really just trying to digest it. So um, I really would like to do that. So if there's any way possible we can do that, then that's what I would like to do. Thanks, Mayor. I know
Okay.
it's probably
I don't know what that means
well.
in the
That,
context of us voting, but we can certainly, so I think do anyone have any other questions for these two? And then we can talk, if you want to have a question for a traffic person, we can do that. So,
yeah,
okay, thank you.
thank you.
Do you want to ask our traffic?
Yeah. Can traffic come up and address the concerns that
Yeah.
our resident discuss as it pertains to traffic of the in and out? Because I really want to learn that a little bit better.
Mayor,
Thank you. You too. You can sit down, please.
Mayor, real quick, did the neighbors all did you guys all pay for a traffic study? All the neighbors?
I did, yes.
You paid for a traffic study. Now you're
And I have
you're just a neighbor
no, as
The
a
owner.
business owner.
of one of the businesses in the area?
The gas station.
Chevron.
Oh, you're the
Yes.
owner of the
I have
Chevron.
for 28 years.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, in the
All right.
beginning, yeah.
So none of this affects you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, do you want to ask your question?
You just want, you heard his concerns about traffic, just kind of want you to speak to it and what that looks like.
Yes, through the mayor and Vice Mayor Harris. So normally we will require a full traffic study for a new site or a redevelopment generate significant amount of traffic because of the existing site and then the new proposed QT generate actually less traffic. So we wouldn't even require for a traffic study from the beginning. And the fact that they did a traffic statement, that's already above our requirement. That's why we don't require them to do this, the second and the third part.
All right, thank you.
Mayor,
Um,
does that report concern you about that, like that gas station, their gas station?
Through the mayor and Councilmember Stewart, I have not seen their report, so I don't know what is included in that report.
Okay.
I only seen the traffic statement provided by the applicant.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that report and its effect on Chevron. Like if the Chevron's causing similar issues, like we need to know about that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Councilmember
asking
Lin-
that question because
Linda?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor. So you did not see the gentleman's report?
No, we have not.
Okay. I guess I'm flabbergasted here because I'm trying to figure out what a 2 and 3 is. If, even though we don't require it, what does that mean? Is this a disaster? Help me understand, put this in perspective of what the gentleman's saying, that a parts 2 and 3, I believe. We are getting a 101. I think it's going to be a graduate course by the time we're done here.
Through the mayor and Councilmember Orlando. So let me explain a little bit about the 2 and 3. So the part 1 is to tell how many new trips were generated by this site, but it doesn't tell you where they come from, south, north, and west, which is the part 2, the distributions come from. And the part 3 is whether that has negative impact or not. Is that going to be dumping more of the lower the level of service? That's what we're talking about. So the fact that there's a median on Railroad and there will be a median on Dobson, that will be restricted. A lot of movement will be restricted. So most of those will be coming from the southbound and then the westbound. But we have not have an opportunity to examine that as well.
Okay, so real final question. Parts 2 and 3, does it concern you at all And what I heard you say is once we put the road improvements in, it should satisfy 2 and 3? Or am I putting words in your mouth? I apologize.
Through the mayor and Councilmember Orlando, because of the new traffic that generated by the site and subtracting the pass by, the 2 and 3 is not even required to look at.
I know. I'm sorry. I know it's not required, but my question to you as a traffic engineer expert, does it concern you, parts 2 and 3 were not done or not looked at?
At the report that we received, it does not seems to be have a negative impact for the existing infrastructure. That's
Okay.
what we see.
Okay, then let me rephrase my second question. Knowing what 2 and 3 is, which I don't know, I'm at a disadvantage here. The improvements we do in 2026, will that help alleviate some of the part 2 and 3 concerns that gentleman raised?
It will definitely will because it restricted some of the movement.
Okay.
Currently, there's a free flow from Dobson Road. Going northbound, you can make a left turn. After the improvement, you cannot.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your patience on this, Mayor. Thank you.
I want to make sure, council, we know how we're voting and our citizens hear the same. Yes, I couldn't tell if Councilmember Poston or Councilmember Ellis, did either of you have a comment?
No, I was satisfied by, thank you, Mayor, I was satisfied by our traffic engineer to have a great understanding. Thank you. The understanding of explaining what are we dealing with here at this time. And then the last thing is that the fact that the Chevron also is producing traffic right now because they are stopping there to get gas.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I'm getting a good head workout here tonight. So Councilmember Poston, do you also have a question?
My questions got answered as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Vice Mayor.
And I was appreciating the negative impacts. That's what I really wanted to know. And if this intersection is super busy and we're having multiple traffic accidents, I probably want that to be addressed at a different date. And then I also wanted to see about what that looks like from our police department in terms of how we are handling, or do we have additional patrols in that area to combat traffic navigation.
Yeah. And Council, might I suggest maybe write your questions down unless they're pertinent to each one, and then we're going to have a chance to dialogue up here before we vote. And if you also want to then ask our police or other questions that might be more, and I'd like to get our residents the opportunity to share. And then, because we will then discuss this at the end, if that's okay. All right, thank you, sir. The next speaker is Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang, if you have 3 minutes, please state your name and address for the record, and the time is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Name's Jeff Lang at 2338 West Orchid Lane. That's Dobson Terrace, as we heard tonight. That is literally a football field away. And I guess I'll tell you, a football field really isn't as big as you would think. In canvassing that neighborhood, I've talked with folks that can literally hear accidents as they happen. QT's told us that they're a safe haven for children. Are their gas station attendants trained counselors? Will they be providing school tutoring for residents? What kind of safe haven for children also profits off the sale of tobacco and alcohol? QT is going to tell you that their gas station attendants are trained to deal with vagrants. If they kick somebody off their property, where will they go? Seton Hall, tutor time, across the football field into my neighborhood? QT will also tell you that not a lot of children cross the street there on Dobson. I live in the community. I walk that community in the morning. I walk that community in the evening. Children cross that road, and I encourage all of you to go, take a look too. If corporate greed didn't cloud QT's consciousness, then they'd be honest with themselves, and then they would build somewhere else. Who are they competing with? Well, I've looked, and I think that there's something like 19 or 20 gas stations in all of Chandler. I kind of feel like we have enough gas stations, and it would be really great to put something in that corner that would benefit our community. And I spoke with actually a coach at Seton who has the idea of putting a sports academy there, and I think that that would be a great idea. I've lived here for 3 years, and I've seen the community start to gentrify and get a little bit younger. I'm seeing, folks more my age, empty nesters or moving somewhere else, and I think we really need to think about that. And again, that's one reason why we don't need another gas station. Let's put something there that's going to be good for our kids. QT will tell you that they bring jobs into their communities. I heard that they're a stellar corporation. I encourage you to look at Glassdoor, Reddit, and look at what former QT employees say about their employer. It's not all sunshine and roses, too. They're also an anti-labor corporation. There were some ULPs filed a number of years back, and I see that that's warning me that my time's almost up. I guess I have 25 seconds. QT, I'll wrap it up here. They're a $12 billion company, from Oklahoma. They're not from Chandler, and I'm really concerned about our mom and pop businesses. I know many of you are small business owners, and I really don't want to see QT come in here and impact the folks that actually live in this community, and make their bread and butter from the businesses that they run.
Thank you, Mr. Lang.
And last thing, really quick, take a look at those surveys. Because when I was canvassing the neighborhood, I heard some people say that, oh, we signed your survey. I think you might want to look a little bit more closely at what
Thank
they
you,
have.
sir.
Thank you.
Next, and Mr. Fred Bournes. Mr. Bournes? Again, please state your name and address, and I guess I challenge everyone to not say the exact same thing. If you've got a new take on our new information for us, that would be helpful. The time is yours, sir.
I was going to say the same thing. My name's Fred Bournes. I live at 6 South Stellar Parkway in Chandler, 47-year resident of Chandler. I think that the QT store, particularly the mini market aspect, is not really a compatible fit for this corner. I enjoy going to the gasoline stations, especially QT. I think they're a good company. Mr. Greathouse and the QT team have done a really good job of presenting their depiction of what will transpire on this corner. It's a commercial property, which probably has a underperforming and a low cost, thing that's going to get demolished and replaced by this potentially very good moneymaker. I think the traffic studies, in particular the Lokahi report, just to kind of, I'm sorry, maybe repeat what was just said by Mr. Miller, it's a little bit confusing for me, because if you read their report, which I did, they argued that the permit in 1998, PLT 98-29, would allow as many as 5,200 ins and outs, so 2,600 each way per day. And QT presented in their traffic study that they felt, by the data that's nationwide, that their business would generate around, on average, 4,100 in and outs per day. So that would be 1,100 less than the 25-year-old PLT would have allowed. That's a justification for doing this. And the trouble that I have with this is that traffic, in my view, is a very non-linear phenomenon. If you have streets that were designed 25 years ago to handle 40,000 cars, and today, and then you only added, say, 5,000 cars to that mix, that's a pretty large percentage, but it's a small amount below the capacity. It's a very nonlinear function. So now we have a street, by everyone's own admission, it's got 40,000 cars per day. Maybe that's going both ways, but we're now talking about adding not just 4,100 on average per day. And you get up against that bump, and it becomes very inelastic. The intersections get very crowded at different times of the day. They get saturated, and all of us that live in Chandler see that saturation, at least during rush hour. So this is a concern about it, and I think you really need to go back, as Mr. Orlando said, and study that traffic report more closely. There's 3 schools in the region. Seaton's a closed campus. I went to a closed campus too, and on Friday afternoons when I finally did graduate from high school, we used to go down to the pool hall. That's an adolescent thing. So coming to the mini mart, you're going to find more students there from Seton, no doubt. The last point I'm going to make, I promise, is that if this was an installation that was going to be near a Chandler Union school or a Tempe Union High School, you'd be inundated with people from the board and from those communities concerned about this. If you look at schools, public schools
Thank you, Mr. Bourne.
in the city, you'll find that very few of them have a phenomenon like this right within a football field's length. The only one I could find
Thank you,
was
Mr. Bourne.
Basher. Take a look at that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Darren Naughton. Mr. Naughton. Again, please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Darren Naughton. We live at 1602 West Del Rio Street in Chandler. My wife and our family have lived in Chandler, and we are homeowners in Anderson Springs community for 30 years. We are not in favor of rezoning for QT. We have similar concerns as others, but what we don't know and understand is what value does QT bring to Chandler? Is their value convenience? Then I have to ask, what is the cost of that convenience? Let me read this statement that can be found on various news, business, city, and real estate websites. Quick Trip strategy is to be the dominant convenience gasoline retailer in each market and to reach that level not through sheer number of stores, but through key high volume locations, end quote. QT is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and there is no information on their website that they are doing anything for corporate responsibility or sustainability. Corporate responsibility refers to the need for businesses to be good corporate citizens and involves going beyond the law's requirements. This means managing their business processes while taking account of their social, economic, environmental impact and considering human rights. Does QT have a goal to reduce their environmental footprint and reduce resources? What we want to ask the City of Chandler's council members not to continue being another city of convenience for QT, not approve their rezoning, and not allow another QT in Chandler, as it seems their corporate responsibility is to increase their profits while they reduce our city's resources. What we should know is how much waste do their stores generate? More importantly, do they recycle? And how much material is or could be diverted from landfills? With 1,064 stores in 17 states, 143 of those stores are in Arizona and 4 are in Chandler. Do they use hybrid or electric vehicles in their delivery and service fleet? Are their single-use cups and straws eco-friendly or biodegradable? Are they using renewable energy? Why don't we know or see if there are solar panels on top of their pump canopies? Why are there no EV chargers? Quoting Chandler's website, sustainability is about balancing the environmental and economic needs of Chandler along with the needs of future generations. To the council, are the economics of the tax revenues generated from QT tipping the scales over for the environmental needs of the city and its residents? The convenient vote would be yes, but the responsible vote is no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Naughton. Our next speaker is Audrey Eaton. Ms. Eaton? Welcome. Please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm Audrey Eaton, and I live at 1848 West Orchid Lane, and I oppose the QT application. I have lived in Pennington Place for almost a decade. It's a gated community near the northeast corner of Dobson and Ray and surrounded by Fry's Market, Dobson Road, and Hope Christian Academy Elementary School. We are across the street from Anderson Junior High and Seton Catholic Prep, and as you all know, Tutor Time Preschool and Seton are adjacent to the proposed QT site. Reasons I oppose the QT include, number one, traffic. We've talked about that. There will be increased traffic congestion, and I think there'll be an increased risk for accidents. Number two, convenience stores with gas stations attract criminal activity. I base this on the FBI Uniform Crime Report published in 2023 and the calls for service report, as we heard from the police officer. I also requested that report for the last year. Call types were numerous and included those for narcotics, criminal traffic, armed robbery, indecent exposure, hit and run, disorderly conduct, assault, and DUI. Lastly, I want to make 2 comments about the petitions with signatures for and against QT. Number 1, over the last week, I walked around Pennington Place on 4 different occasions with a petition opposing QT. Not everyone was home, but I did collect a total of 44 signatures. Those who opposed represented 75% of the neighbors that I surveyed. These neighbors who opposed thought QT was a bad fit for our community and surrounding neighborhood, which includes a high density of schools in the vicinity of the proposed QT. Number 2, on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, while at work, I received a call from my friend Dave, who lives in Gilbert. He told me that he stopped at the QT at 2010 South Arizona in Chandler at about 1 p.m. that day. This QT is over 5 miles from the Dobson Ray intersection. He was approached by a QT employee who was standing outside the entrance and asked him to sign a petition supporting the Dobson Ray QT. Dave asked her why signatures weren't being collected in the Dobson Ray neighborhood instead, and she replied that they needed signatures to outnumber those being collected by the owner of the Dobson Ray Chevron. He asked her where she lived, and she said she was from Tucson. I drove to that QT after work and arrived at 5:30. At that time, there were 2 QT employees with clipboards collecting signatures. I took a picture of this scene as I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. I imagine most of the people who were signing the petitions did not have a vested interest in the Dobson Ray neighborhood. I just wonder if QT was also collecting signatures at their other locations in Chandler. In closing, I hope our mayor, vice mayor, and city council members will scrutinize these petitions and in the end, make a decision that will safeguard my community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chris Kratovics. Mr. Kratovics, please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Chris Kretovics. I live at 2110 West Knox Road, which is just north of the proposed site. So I didn't really come here thinking that I was going to say anything. I just wanted to listen, see whatever the people had to say, maybe listen to what the council had to say, people from QT as well. And that changed, obviously, the more I listened. So hopefully if you give me, I'll take care of it. I feel that it's fundamentally flawed the way that, quite frankly, information was gathered about people in the area. I didn't know about this until recently, and I mean very recently. The distance of the area was far too small, especially for the initial neighborhood input. If you're talking about the area where I live, I'm 500 yards away. Didn't know about it, wasn't talked about. I didn't know about it until the sign got put up next to the site. But then I am also seeing that signatures were gathered for people that were wanting to approve it. And I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're talking about Sun Lakes and you're approving that site, you have no bearing on my community. You just don't. Like, you live at rural and Ray, or rural and Chandler, I'm sorry. That's not close. I mean, it's close, it's not close. Not for me, not for where I drive every single day. And I don't care if it's QT or not. To me, it doesn't matter if it's QT or another gas station. I don't think we need it there. Why do we need another gas station there? It's difficult enough, no offense, to get inside the Chevron when I need to, and even getting out of it. I also don't understand how, in good conscience, we can allow building a QT there when we have not even decided the exact design that would be chosen for the intersection in all directions. And I'm hearing that from the gentleman that's for the city. So how can we in good conscience do that? Also, when he said we didn't need to do steps 2 and 3, again, from Mr. Miller's information, he said it's because it's not for redevelopment. Well, I'm sorry, but the definition of redevelopment is the action or process of developing something again or differently. It's exactly what we're doing. Tearing a building down, we're putting something new there. That's new. That's new development. That's what that is. Again, with what Mr. Miller stated, and I don't want to take too much time, I only got 30 seconds left. I remember when it was a CVS. I've only been living in the community for 17 years. I don't consider that a long time. 30 years, 40 years, a lot of people have been living here longer than me. However, I remember when it was a CVS, and it wasn't that hard to get in and out of. So when people say it's about the same amount of traffic as what a QT or another gas station or convenience store would do, that's wrong. So I think the intersection has issues already, accidents, etc. I'm sure people see cars running red lights 3 to 4 in a row. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If I could ask you to just allow the speakers to address us and not give verbal responses, that would be helpful. I don't want anyone booed on the other hand either. So our next speaker is April Bauerquin. I apologize for mispronouncing your name if I have. If you could please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes, Mrs. Bauerquin.
Super quick. April Borkwin, 1255 North Arizona. And I'm personally just in favor of putting a gas station. I don't think that punishing any company in terms of the billings, what they do and don't do. And I know we're talking about the community around, but I'm also looking at the traffic where easy ingress, egress is so much better than trying to make U-turns, which leads to a lot of the traffic. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Erica Dial. Ms. Dial. And again, if you can please state your name and address for the record, you have up to 3 minutes to share with council.
My name is Erica Dial. I live at 2012 West Tyson in Chandler, just south of the proposed area. I'm just south of Galveston. My husband and I are absolutely in favor of this. We have spoken to many neighbors. We frequent a lot of the businesses that they mentioned were in favor of this. And when we're there, my husband is a salesman, so he talks to everybody. And I sit quietly next to him. So it's very unusual for me to get up here and talk. And everybody we've talked to, or he's talked to, and I sat and listened, is in favor of this. I think the main reason that you're not getting a lot of people here to speak in support is because it's always the squeaky wheels that want to come up and squeak. So we've seen a lot of support. I am very glad that QT was able to get all those signatures because we've seen the support and heard the support for this. So I was trying to make notes as I was sitting there. The traffic studies that everybody's talking about was all addressed in the Zoning and Planning Commission because I've been to every single meeting. I've started with the October meeting. So for people saying that they didn't know about them, they put those giant orange signs on both corners of the proposed site. So if they didn't know, they didn't see it because they've been there for months, since October. It is the owner of that Chevron that is leading the crusade to stop this. And he mentioned that he has been a part of the Anderson Springs HOA for 28 years. His business is a part of that HOA. He is not. He did not mention his address. He lives in Scottsdale. And with the massive influx that we have seen in our area of all these new apartment buildings that are built, the new apartments that were just built by the Fries on Chandler, the new construction that is still going on Fry with massive amounts of new apartment buildings and that influx of people, we absolutely need more gas stations. And I think the proof is that Costco is looking at expanding their gas station. So, I mean, that tells you if they didn't need that, if there wasn't the need, they wouldn't be expanding. And if there wasn't the need, QT wouldn't propose this site if the need wasn't there. And to the one of the last ones that they said this isn't new development. They're just asking for the gas pad. They're not asking to redevelop it into like housing or something like that. That I think would qualify for the full 3-part traffic study. Because again, we all just got our degree in that, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Our next, and again, I'm taking these in the order they've come, Mr. Butler, Phil Butler. Mr. Butler, please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Phil Butler, 1989 West Ray Road. I am Mayor, council members, thank you. I am the general manager of the Chevron. I have been for 22 years. In my experience, gas stations have always been a target for the homeless and for panhandlers, for those looking to buy and sell drugs and other criminal activity. And being built directly beside a daycare and a high school, it will become a hangout for children, high schoolers. QT, like other large gas station chains, seem to allow these people to do whatever they want, uh, which make their locations much more dangerous than other like businesses. At our station, we are very aggressive at removing these people that harass and endanger our customers and our employees. We have zero tolerance and respond immediately to removing them. QT say they have a strong policy for dealing with these people, but in my experience visiting any QTs, you will see this is not existent, the same as Circle K's. One of the zoning and planning council members that voted in favor of this QT being built said it'll bring a service to the community, but they will bring nothing that isn't already there and will be the 8th gas station within 1.5 miles of this intersection. They will be taking away revenue from long-established businesses that have built up this area in the last 25 and 30 years. Nobody will benefit from QT being here except QT. Since the first neighborhood meeting, QT has repeated many misleading statements regarding the serious concerns, or rather opinions as they call it, of the residents and businesses in this neighborhood, such as traffic will be less than the original PAD that I believe was written 25 years ago. They also stated the westbound traffic has to make a U-turn to get into the Chevron, which is not true. There is a dedicated turn lane to get into the Chevron for westbound traffic. Several people in these meetings have said, I love QT, but not here. Even their own customers do not want this in their neighborhood. QT keeps calling everybody's concerns opinions, but these are not opinions. These are facts. Fact, there will be much more traffic. Fact, more accidents. Fact, more crime. And also fact, more closed down and boarded up businesses that always seem to follow new QT stations wherever they build. Does Chandler want or need 2 or 3 gas stations on every corner? Just look at Phoenix and Mesa, and when a QT moves in, many of the other small chain gas stations are shuttered, further leading to more blight and homeless camps in the area. Please consider the facts regarding this proposal and not QT's. Continue. Am I done?
You are, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Our next speaker card is from Grace McMahon. Ms. McMahon? If you could please state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Mayor, council members, my name is Grace McMahon. I'm at 1560 West Ironwood Drive, Chandler, in Anderson Springs. It's the northeast corner of Rand Dobson. I don't have any fun statistics for you. I don't have any slideshows. I am council member Orlando. I am your typical 34-year resident here in Chandler that's just saying, I am for this. I've lived there and watched that corner be built to a CVS, it's gone. Be built to, I want to say it was a Petco, but I can't swear by that. It was gone, and then the next pet thing is gone. And I'm sick of an empty building just sitting there. I'm looking for something that works. And this works. They're tried and true. I don't see the traffic issue, and I do right now with the intersection that it's going to be, but it's not going, or that it is. It's not going to be that, like we've all said. It's already on the books to be upgraded, because right now it's like herding cats in that intersection. It's horrible. We know that. But that's not what that intersection is going to be when this business is there. I'm for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMahon. Our next speaker card is from Peg in. I won't hear you say that. Oh, you're killing me. Say it again. Indralunas. Very good. Ma'am, Please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes to
I'm
share.
Peg Lunas. I live at 1630 West Ironwood Drive in Anderson Springs, right down the street from Grace. So, and I also will say I'm tired of that corner not having a prosperous business. It was a CVS. It was 2 pet stores. Now it looks pretty awful because it's boarded up. The landscaping looks bad. I knew about this because I was given many flyers on my door. Someone spent a lot of money making flyers and posted them on all our neighborhood doors about the various meetings that we had. Some of the concerns, the traffic, yeah, it's a bad intersection. I don't know that it's going to make it any worse because I think people, as stated before, people will go to the QT if they're going west on Ray or if they're coming south on Dobson. If they're going the other directions, they'll go to Chevron. As far as the kids and tutor time, I think tutor time moms and dads may like the quick trip right there because they can zip over there for their morning coffee or their snack or myself a Diet Pepsi. And the kids from Seton, I think it would be better for them. Sounds weird, but after school, I see so many high school kids walking down Dobson. If they want a snack, as you know, most high school kids do, they either have to cross Dobson to get to Fry's or they have to cross Ray to get to the Chevron. Here, they can just walk on the sidewalk to the QT, gorge themselves silly. The other issue was possible homelessness. You know, we have homelessness people. We do have homeless people in Chandler. I've seen people live behind Sprouts. In Anderson Springs, we had for several months during COVID, we had a woman living in that bus stop at Ray and Pennington. I have not seen any at Chevron, and I don't think I'll see any at Quick Trip. I'm for it. I just want a prosperous business there. And thank you.
Thank you. Please, no clapping. The next person, Tristan Gresh.
I'm kind of nervous. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tristan Gresh. I live on 2141 North Evergreen Street. I've lived in Chandler for about 9 years, work at the Chevron for 8 years, and I've seen how bad that intersection can be, and I see a lot of the students cross the street all the time, and I'm worried and concerned about their safety, and I'm hoping that this QT doesn't get put there just for the off chance that it could potentially be more dangerous or make that intersection more dangerous for the students, and that's all I really got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker card is Tyler Gresh, sitting next to Tristan Gresh. Please state your name and address for the record, sir. You have up to 3 minutes.
Awesome. My name's Tyler. I live at 2141 North Evergreen Street. I'll just keep it simple. I'm not for this QT for the obviously stated reasons and issues with data and addressing the concerns of the community. As far as what can go there, I think there's plenty of other things that can go there that would benefit the community and actually work better with the school and daycare. Having that QT there, that's just a lot of extra traffic for the tour time buses, the parent traffic, and of course the children coming in and out. Overall, I just don't think it's a safe option. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Justin Witt. Mr. Witt, please state your name and address for the record. You have up to 3 minutes.
My name is Justin Witt. Address is 1560 West Ironwood Drive. I'm for the QT going in on the corner of Ray and Dobson. I think it's good for the city, good for the community, and good for my neighborhood. The location's been empty for far too long. If other businesses could work there, they would have gone in there already. QT thinks they can make it work, and I applaud them for that. When the intersection reconstruction is complete, median barriers will control the flow of traffic. There's also red light cameras at that intersection. You know, if people are running red lights, doing things illegal, that's supposed to catch them. I think the first presenter, the owner of the Chevron, having a monopoly on that intersection, I just think he's afraid of competition. I think this is going to be good for the community and, again, good for my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, we have 2 left. Our next speaker is Gretchen Renbaum. Thank you.
Sounds like Tannenbaum, like the Christmas tree.
Thanks for the clarification. If you could please state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Gretchen Rennebaum, 1762 West Geary Drive, Chandler Boulevard, in Chandler. And I just think that I realize there's been a vacuum there for a while, and a vacuum really wants to be filled. But I think we need to not just infill this space without much more careful consideration, thought, and independent research. I find it a little bit interesting that a lot of the stats were related to Quick Trip versus other kinds of businesses that are the same, Circle K, blah, blah, blah. It did not address things like what other kinds of businesses compare to those kinds of things related to stats with criminal statistics, homelessness, crime, and so forth. I think it's very skewed because of that. I don't think we have a lot of independent research on this situation. I've lived there for 30 years. I lived literally on Dobson and Ray, just east of the Fry's, and I've seen the traffic get horrendously worse. And I am, all the neighbors that I talk to are adamantly opposed to this, so I'm going to be a squeaky wheel on that side. I don't know the Chevron people, never met them, not concerned about them. My concern is with that area. That traffic area is horrendous. It's gotten worse every year, and I think we don't have enough research and independent looking at it to tell us what it's really all about. And I think that focusing on how many more cars are going to go by is not the issue. The issue, again, is how many starts and stops, ins and outs, and things that are going to cause traffic obstacles there that are going to potentially increase. And I don't think a median is going to necessarily solve all of those problems. I think it will help, but I don't think it's going to do everything. I don't know how this proposed option is better than the Fry's gas station that was proposed in that same area, Ray and Dobson, and was turned down. How is this one different or better or different in terms of meeting particular requirements than the Fry's was, which was turned down, I think, just a couple of years ago. So my concern is that we just don't have enough information, and that some of the information we're getting is, again, not independent, and I feel that we need to really be more careful. And is this really a forward-thinking approach to what we want in our city in terms of, do we need a gas station with 8 pumps that are going to have things that hopefully down the road won't be needed when we have electric vehicles and things like that? I just think it's not necessarily the forward thinking that we need, and I don't think it's independent thinking necessarily based on the information that's been gathered to date.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Daniel Pesta. Mr. Pesta, you could please come, state your name and address for the record. You have up to 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Pesta. My address is 903 North Salida del Sol. I am vice president of the Capriana HOA, which is directly south on the southwest corner of Dobson and Ray. I've had numerous residents talk to me about the traffic in that area. It's already almost impossible to turn west out of our development to get to the 101 freeway. There should be a light at Ivanhoe and Ray. We've tried to get a light put in there. I guess the traffic study doesn't warrant it right now, but it is really hard to turn west out of there. And if you stop at the light, you can tell we end up a lot of times we turn right and then make a U-turn at Tudor time just because it's the safest way to get through there. There's 4 schools nearby. My children go to Anderson Elementary School, so I know there's a lot more children walking through this area. So it's not just about the traffic study, it's about children walking. And then, do we really even need another gas station in the area? There are 8 other gas stations in the area already within a mile and a half. And like they said, the Fry's gas station tried to be put in there about 2 years ago, and that was not allowed because we don't even need another gas station. We're going to more electronic vehicles, so I feel like gas stations are going to be less popular in the future. They mentioned that all this building of Fry's on Fry Road of apartment buildings, those people won't be going to this gas station anyway because it's not a destination. As was stated, you usually go as a pass by, so they're not going to be passing by here to get to this gas station. Also, this is a giant corporate company. If they do put a small business out of business, like the Chevron is right across the street from them, what's going to happen to that vacant lot? Because that will be a vacant lot that's zoned as a gas station as well. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and let you know that I oppose this, and a lot of people in my community do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, we've probably had about 17 cards. And again, there are probably about 9 that will be written into the record. Very similar thought and vein of comments. I'll start off with comments, and then if anyone would like to call somebody else back to talk or clarify, and then we'll see where this goes. It's been mentioned a couple times, the Fry's gas station, and that was for our fairly new folks. This was a development that was tucked in on Pennington on the north east side of the Fry's there. It was backed up right against the neighborhoods, and council at that time opposed that because it was literally, it was right next to the residence, like it backed up against the residence wall. So that was the story of that. And there was not a question of whether at that time that council thought a gas station was good or bad. It was just council opposed the location of that. And I don't think the developer actually brought this to a case to us. I think they saw that they weren't gaining traction. So that was why that one wasn't developed. It was just the location right next to residents. So council, what comments do you have, or what would you like to? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to call back up QT because there was a couple of concerns I wanted them to address because it was called out when they were speaking, and I just kind of want to be able to allow
Mr. Greathouse, come on up.
that response. It's going to be, you may or may not be able to answer. I don't know. I think it's going to be for a different person. But the first question was corporate responsibility. I really wanted to know QT's corporate responsibility. And then what does that look like for Chandler? Because I think that's very important. And that's what I heard that was being asked. What is your corporate responsibility? And what does that specifically look like for Chandler? And I will probably say more in that area to see what steps or approaches are you looking to take to make sure that you're not just here receiving the profits, but you're also being mindful of putting it back into Chandler.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do corporately wide is 5% of our earnings go back to corporate in the community. And what we have is it's actually the store employees make up how we decide where the charities go. So it's a committee that they meet once a quarter, and then those store employees will take all the applications and they go through them, and then they decide locally. They're the ones that are in the trenches every day. They're the ones that see what the community needs are. So they're the ones that decide where the funds go locally. And that happens not just here in Arizona, but everywhere. So that way, if a community organization is doing good and it's helping them with the concerns of the neighborhood, they get the money versus just corporately someone deciding, hey, should give it to this charity or that charity. So that's how all of the funds get divided up locally, is it's done by a team of store employees who know better than someone at corporate would how to best allocate the funds. In terms of other sustainability, and that was brought up, we do have a sustainability team. That is something that we do look at, just not only from an environmental standpoint, but just from a business standpoint, and how we can grow our business and continue to be responsible. One of the things that we're doing here, specifically on this site, is we're retaining all the existing landscape because it's more sustainable and it's less environmental impact. There's a lot of mature, established landscape on this site, and it's very beautiful, and it does a very good job of screening, and we're keeping all of that. So we try to do and look at those things to how we can better and be more sustainable and environmentally friendly company. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is probably going to be for the attorney. I wanted to better understand the setbacks around the QT in the pad. Just kind of want to learn the setbacks in terms of the school, where it's actually positioned at. I just kind of wanted you just to share how the setbacks and how many feet is that from the daycare, from the school, the sidewalk, to allow pedestrians to walk.
This would be probably in the earlier photo you shared with us.
Yeah.
Okay. It's time to go to engineering 101 now. Hold on one second.
I think you had another slide that actually brought in gave us a little wider out, showing where the school was in the daytime as well. Okay.
Is this what you're referring to, Mayor?
Is this what you're asking?
Oh,
Yes, this,
okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
This is, yes.
So as you can see, we're far set back from Ray on the south, which is on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. The canopy and the QT store are set back far from the east side, where Dobson Road is located. Based on the scale of this drawing, it looks like the tutor time is set back even greater than the setback along Dobson Road, or about a similar distance from the back of the QT building to the playground at the tutor time. On the north side, there's less of a setback, but that's because there's a parking lot there for Seton.
Right.
And in fact, when we met with Seton, they asked us to install a 7-foot wall along the north property line of the QT site, and we've done that. We've agreed to it, and it's shown on the site plan.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of did kinder care, the daycare, did they ask for a wall? Did they ask, or did they just ask for speed mitigation, like bumps and stuff? But I wanted to know, did they ask for a barrier wall as well?
Yeah, I'm unaware of them asking for a barrier wall. Daniel?
No, they did not. We talked about adding light at the dumpster, adding some, I can't point to it on here, but adding some signs on their parking that say for tutor time only, no quick trip customers, putting the speed bumps in, adding just signs inside the site to direct QT customers, and so let them know to try to avoid going through the tutor time portion of the shared access. And I think that was it. That was what they asked for.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess my last question, let me see. Yes, from the time that, so if this project bumps up against our capital plan for improvement for road widening, what does that look like? And will you be preparing for that if this was to go across the finish line?
Councilmember, are you referring to the Dobson Road median improvements?
Yes.
In connection with when the QT would be constructed and opened?
Yes.
One thing we have discussed with your staff is if there's a gap in between, let's say a 6-month gap of when a QT store would open versus when the capital improvement project would be completed, that we would be happy to install what's called the pork chop, diverting traffic right in and right out, which effectively does the same sort of thing as a median would. Median's a little more permanent and harder to violate, but we'd be happy to install a pork chop if that was required in an interim solution.
Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Additional questions or comments?
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. So on the charities, the 4 stores that are currently in Chandler, do you know who they give to at this current time?
No, I apologize. I don't know all the specific charities that they give to. I can find that out and get that information over to you very quickly.
All right, great. Thank you. So what was the timing on the tutor time letter that said they were against it versus what we're hearing today, which they're like okay with some stipulations that Councilmember Orlando mentioned?
Good question. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride with tutor time. We initially reached out to tutor time, and they told us that they had no opposition, and they were not objecting to the QT. Ben, your planning staff, reached out to tutor time as well, and as described in your staff report, tutor time told Ben that they had no objections. I understand the day of the March 21st City Council meeting, there was a letter submitted by Tutor Time. That's what I was told. And that's where the opposition letter is on record that David Miller showed you all. Our conversations with, and I emails from Tutor Time at like 9:30 this morning saying, you know, Daniel offered the speed humps, and they said, yeah, that would be great. Thank you. The speed bumps would help. And
Can you send that to me real quick?
Yeah.
Well, not right now, but when you sit down.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
All right.
And then you heard David Miller say that he talked to Tutor Time today at 4 p.m. and they're in opposition. So it's been a little bit of this through the process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So a couple things. So thank you. For me, this really has been centering around traffic. Like I've heard a lot of the opposition, much of the opposition is, I've learned now, is from a competitor in the neighborhood. And as a city, you know, our responsibility is to facilitate opportunity for our small business owners. We're not necessarily here to protect our small business owner. We create safe streets. We make sure that the infrastructure is well. But it seems like the challenge that we have here is that we're about to blow out this intersection. I don't know, do we have the power to move that up so this times and gets in line? I know there's some federal funding and things like that, and I don't want to get into the where to's and what for's and the details, but it sounds like that's a huge solution to a major problem that many of the opposing neighbors have on this particular site. I don't think that the crime is any different than any other convenience store or any other location, but the traffic really seems to be an issue. And if we can solve for that faster, maybe we can find a compromise, and that's what we're up here to do, is to find a compromise that works for the neighbors. What can we do, City Manager?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, as I mentioned before, the project is partially federally funded, and that is timed in sequence. So just like we compete for projects through MAG or through any of the other federal sources, we kind of get in line. And we get called when we get called, and we have the opportunity to be able to pursue some additional funding. So in this case, you know, if that was something the council wanted to move up, we would have to seek some other source of funding to be able to complete that project, or perhaps try to advance that up in the schedule. We certainly could, because we're in design now. We could pursue that. I can't guarantee from my position here today that that would be possible. But if that is council's direction that you would like us to aggressively pursue moving that project perhaps ahead of others on the list, or trying to get that funding sooner, we could certainly try.
City Manager, thank you. City Manager. City Manager, thank you. So what's the risk reward here as it relates to the funding, right? These dollars are important. We get federal funding. We have a number of other projects that we have to do here in the city. As much as people are frustrated with some of the construction, we're getting some really good road construction done. So what's the risk reward from a timeline? We're talking about 3 or 4 months, right? That's the difference. Can we get reimbursed?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, typically we have to obligate the federal funding by a certain time. So we have to be ready with design, have final approval from you to proceed with the construction. And then that allows us to be able to access that funding. In this case, it's a mix of funding. I actually pulled this item up in our capital program to make sure I had it straight in my head. So it's a mix of local bond funding from voter approved bonds, as well as some capital grants that are anticipated from the federal sources. So if that was the desire, again, to try to swap that out, that's a conversation we would have to have, but you're in the middle of budget season right now, and we could see what availability that is. That's probably a conversation we need to have.
Offline, or do you want to whisper me the number?
Oh, how much is
how much is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, the project is currently budgeted for $10.3 million. That is the construction only. So that does not include the design and other. There's some right-of-way acquisition, things like that in previous years. A little over 10.3 million. I won't go to all the detailed numbers. About 3.3 million of that is coming from the grant source. And about 6.9 million is shown from your local bond funding at this time.
Oh, one other thing. Can we work with Daniel, the HOA VP, on that traffic study and kind of help him out on that too, please? Thank you.
Yeah. I would suggest that if council does vote in favor of this, that as much as, and that's an if, I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, but to me, that would also be a plus to try to align these to where that if there was a temporary solution that would be less inhibited, but I'm not one for wanting to turn down a $3 million federal funding of this too, but if there's a way to do that. Councilmember Ellis is next.
Thank you, Mayor. There were so many different, I will say, more like questionable ways of getting those signatures that have been raised. And truly, I've heard from people who truly have to gain from the QT not being there versus the other way around. Majority of those who have spoken, if we were talking about free market solutions, which is basically what this whole country is based on, is the fact that every one of us have a right to put our business as long as it's viable and it's going to help the community in a place where we want to put it. Just because someone else have a business there, that doesn't mean we cannot put another business similar to that. I've heard a lot of things about how many gas station we have within a mile of. I would love to have the applicants speak to the manner that those signatures were taken, number one. Number two is that I moved in Anderson Spring in 1990. I was one of the first to buy a house in that corner. Oh, she's raving, she knows. In 1999, when I moved out from there, we had traffic in that area. I have watched that corner. I have watched that chevron in a bad shape, so not bad shape. And now I don't know because if I go by, the gas is so expensive, I can't even buy it. I'll just keep driving. And so my concern at this time is that am I stopping everybody else that lives in Chandler from being able to save on gas, to be able to be conveniently go there when they are driving west, going to the freeway to get their gas? Am I stopping them from being able to do that? At this time, I would like a couple of questions answered concerning how those signatures were collected. Because one time when I stopped at the Chevron at the front desk, there was somebody who was asking for us to sign because they said if we didn't sign, they're gonna lose their jobs. So I want to know about that. How those signatures were collected? No, for QT.
From a QT.
Correct.
Okay. Who would like to address her question about how were the signatures collected?
Through the mayor, council member, the signatures were collected primarily by Bilstein Consulting, their team.
Okay.
Their team is made up of volunteers, people who they found just love QT, and they also have paid employees that gathered these signatures. They, I don't know. This is what was
you may
shown.
approach.
This is what was shown to people as they were requesting signatures.
Okay.
The front and back of that to show them what the QT
Okay. All right. And you may take these ones too from there.
Sure, pass it down.
Pass it down, please. So what you're telling me at this time, and that they were honestly collected by a company that you hired to do that. It was not your employees standing on a corner trying to get signatures.
Absolutely. I believe they had a QT badge, but they were not QT employees.
Correct.
They had a QT badge so that people who worked at that QT store knew that they were on site, and but they are not employees of QT.
I see. For safety purposes. That's why they were wearing the badges.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Poston. Oh, you can just put it. He'll grab it. Well, Council, if there is no further questions, a motion would be in order. I know Councilmember Stewart's probably in the bathroom right now, so before we voted. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Council, what's your preference here tonight? Council, let me ask again, a motion would be in order uh, to either request that this goes on or is denied? Here. I will make a motion that that we approve this development. As I mentioned earlier, I do not go to QT, but they did put one up across the street from my church, and I did find that the competition was good at the Circle K that I do go to, that suddenly there was water in the windshield wiper things, or where I could do my windshields, where before honestly, I would get frustrated if I can't do my windshields there. I thought it was good. I live across the street, or I drive there across the street every day, and I've not found traffic to be more onerous. And sometimes I'm making a hard left out of my parking lot to head north, cross traffic, and I wait a little bit, and but I've not found it to be onerous. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 25. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second with some comments.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And council, before we take a vote, would anyone like to make comments?
Yes. Mayor, Mayor and council, this has been a very difficult decision for me to come to because of the fact that I wanted to hear everything, and I think I've been inundated with multiple comments. I've read a lot of emails. I spent a lot of time pondering on my mind. And I'm a small business owner, but I'm also believe in some friendly competition too, because that's what makes us great. I think when I serving in the military, is kind of, that's what we do. We compete. That's how we make a living. That's actually, you know, be honest with you, if I didn't have another job right now, I wouldn't be able to do this job because I have to work and I have to compete. And I'm always feeling like I'm at a disadvantage because I'm spending time, working hard for the people, but I also got to leave here and go work to provide for my wife and my family. And I know that that's a sacrifice. And sometimes competition is good because, at one point I owned 35 locations, 35 tax and accounting locations in 7 different states. And my business model was to open up right next to the competition because of the fact that I wanted to be better than the competition. If the competition is not better, I'm going to beat them down really bad. And I put together strategies to do that. And I know this is in our community, and I love my community and I love my neighbors. My only reserve that I have right now that I would like to see QT in the city work together to bump up the traffic, so that way that can be taken care of. I know they have a build time. I know that they want to get it done quickly, but I feel very uncomfortable if I think that there could be traffic accidents or issues that's related to traffic. And I know I've read through QT. They talk about being a good neighbor. They talk about, giving back to the community and opening up a QT while they're navigating traffic and not having enough room concerns me. And I hope that the QT family would go back and say, we're going to do a better job, and we're gonna work with the city. We're not going to open this building. We'll get it together, and we'll start making the property look nice and start renovating the things that needs to look nice to make it prepared. But we're going to work closely to make sure that traffic is addressed. I'm very concerned about that. We already have speed light cameras there, but I do believe that um, QT is a business just like everyone else, and they have to spend some time doing it. So, with that being said, Mayor, I yield my time, and I'm going to talk to everybody when I leave here about my comments, and I'm not going to shy away from that. With that being said, thank you, Mayor.
Before I ask any others, Councilmember Orlando reminded me that if it's okay with the second of my motion, can we include the stipulations to make sure that they are insured and followed up on? Is that, Tond, is that legally done, or do I need to make a?
Mayor, if I may, you'll need to do a motion to amend.
Okay,
Then
thank
a
you.
second. and then you'll need an approval of the motion to amend, and then you can vote on the amended motion.
So do I make the motion to amend?
You may.
All right, so I would like to make a motion to amend my original motion that includes the 4 stipulations to work with tutor time. And is there a second on my motion to amend?
Mayor, can you add the pork chop turn lane for
And
safety?
yes, and whatever is necessary, if in timing, if a pork chop is necessary, if this timing does not work, that we would also include that that would happen and that would assist being a right in and right out. So I have a motion. Does that satisfy?
Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Do we need to include the 7-foot wall? Some of those agreements with Seton as well, since we're including the agreements with tutor time?
My understanding was that that was already in the development agreement, the 7-foot wall.
Doesn't DA?
It's in there.
Mayor, council members, the 7-foot wall, that is part of the PDP approval.
Okay, thank you. Does this satisfy what we would need to continue? If I have a motion and, did I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a second. And this is a motion to amend the previous motion? All right, so we have a motion and a second. And we can do this through our vote thing here. Council, please vote to amend the motion.
To amend the motion or to?
Just to amend.
We're not
Amend the
voting
motion.
on this, we're just voting to amend to add the new things, correct? All right,
Yes, that's correct.
all right, so you're not saying, you're not putting yourself out yet. All right, council, please vote.
Yeah. Motion to amend carries unanimously.
Very good. So we have a motion and a second on the floor still, correct? For the new, with the amendments. Is there any additional comments, council, you'd like to make? Let's start over. We'll start with Councilmember Encinas.
I just want to thank all the residents for being part of this tonight and being here. It's almost 9 p.m. Your input is very important to all of us here on council, and we take that in great consideration. So I just want to give you guys a thank you for still being here today and voicing your opinions, because this is who you guys are, our bosses. This is who we're listening to. So I just want to thank you guys for being a part of this process.
Okay. Councilmember Orlando?
Well, yes, I thought we were going down this way.
We can do that,
I
sure.
thought maybe that was, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Encinas, for saying that. I really appreciate the fact that so many of you have come out tonight and really telling us exactly where you stand on this project and how you feel about it. It's always good for us to have dialogue. Communication is important. I feel that the applicant really brought a lot of things to the table for us to look at. Same thing for those of you who are feeling that you don't want this into your area and everything else. But I will leave this with you. If you may just sometimes realize that for the greater good, every single one of us sometimes have to really give a little so that everybody else can benefit from it. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis. Councilmember Stewart?
Nothing for me, Mayor, but Josh, please, let's talk about the traffic and getting that intersection done quicker, please. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Orlando?
You know, it's kind of bittersweet tonight because I worked with some of you on the Anderson Spring Post Office, and I worked on some of you on some neighborhood issues. So either way I go tonight, I want you to know I still love you, and I'll still respond to whatever need you have. But as the mayor said earlier, it's going to be half of you, or some of you will be delighted tonight, and some of you may not be delighted. You know, I've worked with QT on another project. I think you might remember the one on McQueen and I believe it was Ocotillo. I worked with the residents on that one. Major concerns about it and never got off the ground. You know, many of the supporters that I read and talked to, they do consider QT a destination place. And we have these facts and figures, 5%, 2%, 5%. But if you talk to the people that use QT, and I have, it's a destination place. They will drive outside to go to QT for whatever reasons. That's not a business model. That's positive. That's not a negative thing. I'm not here to pick winners or losers. I'm not here to say Chevron's any better than QT. I have an electric car, by the way. I just plug mine in at night and I go. So I'm not here to pick winners or losers. I'm also concerned of how signatures are gathered and how it's presented. We've been through that. We've been through that before. You do a very well job on that. We've had folks that work together that know you. So I'm not really worried about that as much as. What I am worried about, and I said this earlier too, is what do the folks in the immediate neighborhood feel about this? And that's my guidepost. And the vast majority of you have told me, friends, I've been to the meeting along with Councilmember Encinas. Friends came up to me after the meeting and said, Matt, we've been here a long time. So it's hard for me to say yes or no to this at right time. But my role here is, my concern is the intensity of this project. I really believe it's going to create more of a issue with traffic, and even with the median, as our own traffic expert said, it will help. I think the word will help 2 and 3, but really necessarily solve the whole issue. I only wish we had this report earlier so we could have digested it a little bit more and discuss it. So with that, I won't be supporting this.
Councilmember Poston.
I would just like to echo the thoughts of thank you for being here tonight. We did hear all of your voices. I read all of those emails. I had a lot of concerns when this item first came up and walked through them. Many of those concerns were satisfied tonight. And as we go through the budget process, I am going to encourage my fellow council members to support taking a look at addressing the traffic issues, which I agree seem to be some of the most immediate concern, and concerned whether this, and a concern for the neighborhood, whether this item goes here or not. It seems to be an issue right now. So I'd like us to take a hard look at what we can do to address that issue, no matter what happens. Thank you.
All right. Council, I believe voting is in order.
Motion passes 5-2 with Councilmember Encinas and Councilmember Orlando dissenting.
Okay, thank you. Council, next on our agenda is unscheduled public appearances. I don't see any cards. Is that still true, City Clerk?
Mayor Hartke, yes, there are no cards.
Okay, and next is current events. I've got a couple comments related to this. Yesterday, Mayor and Council, we had the opportunity to recognize residents that serve on our boards and commissions at our 2024 appreciation event. I want to particularly thank our clerk's office, our 5th floor staff that put a lot of work and energy into this to really honor our boards and commission members. It was a great morning of connection, a great morning of a gentle reminder of the important work and insight that our boards and commissions provide for our council. And over the next couple of weeks, there are several other volunteer recognition events scheduled. Tonight, for example, we had the Chandler Police Department Volunteer Appreciation Banquet. I think even the leftovers have been cleared away by now, so we will not be attending there. Sorry to our volunteers. Tomorrow morning is the Chandler Volunteer Recognition Breakfast. This was first suggested over a decade ago by the Chandler Nonprofit Coalition. It was directed and ran by For Our City Chandler for many years, and now it's under the thoughtful care and direction of our diversity, equity, and inclusion staff. So I'm looking forward to honoring our volunteers tomorrow at the Center for the Arts. And next Friday, after our all-day budget session, is the Chandler Center for the Arts Volunteer Friends Appreciation. So that will be exciting to honor and participate as well. There's a lot of good work being done in our community. So whether you serve as a commissioner or a volunteer, you are the reason that Chandler is awesome and special. Secondly, this Saturday is Earth Day. It's an exciting event. I want to make sure to highlight before I turn over to council is Earth Day. From Saturday from 9 until noon, come on down to the Chandler Nature Center to enjoy crafts, activities, information booths, and more. This free family-friendly event is a perfect opportunity to get outside, enjoy our beautiful Veterans Oasis Park, learn about the importance of conservation and sustainability. I hope to see you there. And finally, to current and former Chandler High grads like Mr. Encinas, tomorrow, Saturday, will be the 50th anniversary of our favorite taco spot on Arizona Avenue and Elmer's. And I'll be reading a proclamation there at 11. And so we want to celebrate Elmer's and their contributions to our community as well. Councilmember Encinas.
Perfect. I'll be with you celebrating with a bean and cheese burrito from Elmer's with sauce. But no other announcements. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Ellis.
And I'll be there too because that's one of my favorite place. But I would like to also mention that a new Chandler Museum exhibit that just started next week, April 23rd. There is an exciting new exhibit at the Chandler Museum that I wanted to highlight tonight. The artist is Judy Gales. She has interviewed and photographed over 300 fourth graders in our school, students from across the world, from China, from Nicaragua, and from the US. She has compiled their stories, which is now an exhibit at our museum, highlighting all the differences of childhood and also all the common things that the childhood has together. To add local voices to this exhibition, Chandler Museum staff, they met with local fourth graders at Galveston Elementary School, and their thoughts are also on display. So they put everything on display for all of them. The fourth graders project will be on view on the Chandler Museum April 23rd until August 11, 2024. Make sure you check it out for those of you who would like to be there. And this week is National Public Safety Telecommunication. So I would like to thank our first responders that are in the room. Come on, get up and stand up. Let us clap for you all. Thank you so much. And it is start April 14th to April 20th. It is the National Safety Telecommunication Week, as I said. Our police department provide essential 24/7 support to our community, ensuring that our residents have critical access to city services when they need it the most. Thank you for everything that you do. Really appreciate you. I want to thank also the fire department. Thank you for everything that you do, Chief, and your team. With that, Mayor, that's all I have for tonight.
Vice Mayor.
Nothing.
Oh my God.
Let's move quickly. Councilmember Stewart.
Well, I'm gonna be quick. City Park's coming up this weekend. So we've got a couple of exciting events. Cinepark, the free tumbleweed movie series, is starting back on May 3rd with a viewing of the Super Mario Brothers movies. Bring a blanket or a chair, some snacks, and come enjoy a movie under the stars. It's a great family event, so make sure you're there. Water Safety Walk is coming up. So after that Cinepark showing on May 4th, that's a Saturday, come out to Desert Oasis Aquatic Center for our annual Water Safety Walk. Our Chandler Fire Department's looking for volunteers, so ping them and let them know if you'd like to help out. And this is a great event that makes a real difference in preventing water-related incidents in our community. And you can sign up or learn more about our What Are You Doing campaign on our website. And then this morning, the mayor, Vice Mayor Harris, Councilmember Ellis, and myself, we attended the governor's prayer breakfast in downtown Phoenix. And what a great way to start your morning. 90 minutes, people from all sides of the aisle, clergy, business leaders, just kind of locking arms for about 90 minutes to pray for our community and to pray for peace and for, I guess, collaboration, right? It just really felt collaborative this morning. So thank you for attending and thanks for being a part of that. Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilmember
Wait,
Orlando.
Mayor, I wanted to tell
Too late.
Mark, thank you so much for inviting us and being there and all the hospitality. Just really thank you for thinking
Thank you,
about
Vice
us. I
Mayor.
appreciate you.
Councilmember Orlando.
Mayor, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. I just want to thank you for conducting a very good meeting tonight, excellent meeting tonight. You know, you read about a lot of councils over the valley and throughout the United States, and we had a very civil crowd here, and you handle it well. And I certainly appreciate indulging me in a little bit more details to bend the rules a little bit so we get some more information. So thank you.
Anytime. Thank you for asking for that, the additional clarification.
Thanks as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember
Thank you,
Poston.
Mayor.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just briefly wanted to wish you all a happy Passover, which starts on Monday. Chag Sameach. Happy Passover to everyone. Thank you.
All right, Council, get ready for Budget Day on Friday and read those big books and concludes our meeting.
Are we having donuts
Friday.
for budget briefing? No donuts? Come on.